Chapter 52:20. It looked as though she was worried about Zhu Wu Xian, but in fact, she was secretly responding to that voice in her heart. Who are you? What do you mean by this? That voice could indeed hear what she was thinking. Very quickly, it gave a reply. The dignified princess of the Illusion Clan, after 10,000 years, you should be leading the Illusion Clan to build a new home and become the supreme Empress. That sinister voice was hoarse and ear-piercing. But when it fell into Qing Ji's ears, it carried an inexplicable bewitchment. Her heart skipped a few beats. Do you know why you can't defeat Feng Qing Luo? That voice, just as it stirred up her inner emotions, it suddenly poured a bucket of cold water on her. Qing Ji's gaze suddenly turned cold. That voice continued, because her status is noble. She has the bloodline of the divine phoenix, the most noble woman in the god realm. Because she is the chosen phoenix lady, the chosen one. If no one stops her, she can even step on all the worlds under her control. She will be the only one. As the voice spoke, every sentence fell. The expression on Qing Ji's face became sinister and terrifying again. That tightly clenched fist, the slender fingernails embedded into the flesh of her palm. But she didn't feel it at all. And you obviously have the noble bloodline of the Illusion Clan's princess, so enviable, making people offer treasures with both hands, kneel down to beg for your power. But you ended up in such a miserable state. You are the Illusion Clan's last, direct bloodline Illusion Clan princess. Obviously, you can also stand above thousands of people, stepping on countless of heads, watching those people fight for you until their heads bleed. That voice was low and hoarse, stirring up people's hearts. Every word, every sentence was like a needle piercing into the deepest part of Qing Ji's heart. It was as if he had dug out all of her wounds, dripping with blood. The darkest thoughts in her heart. There was nowhere to hide. That voice, Feng Qing Luo, disappeared from this world. If Qing Ji's heart, bit by bit, sped up. Her slender white hands clenched again. Her breathing was a little rushed because of nervousness or excitement. That pair of beautiful eyes gradually became gloomy and ruthless. If Feng Qing Luo disappeared, then the so-called Phoenix Maiden candidate would no longer exist. Feng Qing Luo had no way to flaunt her prowess in front of her, so there was no way to seduce his majesty and young master. And she will, because of your identity as the princess of the illusion race, you will become the target that countless profound practitioners will try to recruit. You will be the queen of the illusory tribe and rule the world. The voice laughed sinisterly. His smile was sinister and bewitching. Qing Ji's fingers gripped her sleeves tightly. You are revered carefree? She asked tentatively. However, he received a definite answer from the other party. Yes. What is your purpose? After Qing got the answer, her first reaction was not to be alarmed, but her heart was beating even faster, because she knew and understood just how strong was this revered carefree from 10,000 years ago. If he could make Feng Qing Luo disappear from this world. So what if he cooperated with the devil? Anyway, she had a way to deal with Huang Wuyo. TSK, TSK, TSK. Huang Wuyo laughed sinisterly. That laughter made one's hair stand. This seat and you. Make a deal. Chapter 52:21. The light in Qing Ji's eyes grew brighter. His heart was pounding. However, there was not the slightest hint of vigilance or danger. All he felt was the excitement and thrill of making a deal with the devil. Feng Qing Luo is your daughter. Are you willing to let this princess kill her? Although Qing Gu was agitated, but her intelligence was still there. Huang Wuyo laughed mockingly. The meaning of her existence is that she is nothing more than a tool that I can use. She can be discarded at any time. TSK. She's so pitiful. Although Qing Pigeon said so, her tone was full of schadenfreude. Look, so what if that bitch is the Phoenix Maiden? Wasn't it because someone didn't like her? Wasn't it because he couldn't get everyone's love? Qing Ji's eyes were filled with excitement and malice. She grinned and said, "Can you really let me kill her with my own hands?" "I can guarantee that," Huang Wuyo replied with a chuckle. Qing Ji's jade-like fingers clenched tightly. Her face twisted into a hideous smile, making her look like a Rakshasa. "What do you need my help with?" Huang Wuyo let out a sinister laugh. The soft and ethereal laughter that lingered in one's ears like a devil's voice shook Qing Ji's heart. "Don't be nervous. I just hope that you can help me with something." Yiqing Luo and Zhu Wu Xian's exchange of blows had already caused the entire underground tunnel to shake till it was as though the God Emperor's tomb was about to collapse. But under the violent shaking, the ground shook again and again. The top was still as solid as a rock. As for the ground, other than a few pieces of gravel flying up, there were no cracks at all. This place, it was really sturdy. Yiqing Luo and Zhu Wu Xian exchanged blows once again, and after both parties retreated, her long and narrow eyes squinted coldly without blinking. The profound waves colliding in the air gently rippled, forming layers upon layers of ripples. After the collision, there was a loud bang in the private room. Yiqing Luo stood close to the wall, her fingertips lightly touching the stone wall behind her, looking at the scattered gravel. Chu Wuxin didn't really want to kill her at all. He didn't want to fight to the death with her. His attacks seemed ruthless. Every move was swift and fierce. However, there was not the slightest hint of killing intent. The fight went on like this. He was afraid that even if he exhausted all of his energy, he might not be able to determine the victor. Most importantly, this was Huang Wuyo's territory. Once her or Zhu Wu Xian's strength was exhausted due to their mutual attacks, when they finally had no combat strength left, what if Huang Wuyo suddenly appeared and caused trouble? After all, they weren't the only ones in the tunnel. There was also an unknown number of undead puppets. Behind Zhu Wuxin, there was a group of people from the illusion race who could protect her. What about her? Because of the grudge between her and Qing Ge, it was already good enough that Qing Ge did not take the opportunity to stab her. Perhaps Zhu Wuxin's plan was to exhaust her strength and take the opportunity to trap her. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly, like ripples of ice. A wisp of dim light flashed past. She abruptly raised the glowing flame fan in her hand. Her pink lips moved slightly as she coldly spat out, "Zhu Wuxin, I don't have the time to waste with you." His fingertips flicked. The wind blades from the glowing flame fan surged like a tide, like a lady scattering flowers, spreading out in all directions. Her pink lips carried a hint of ridicule. "I'm not sure how long Huang Wuyo's current state can last. Are you sure you want to have a fearless struggle with me here?" Chapter 52:22. The current situation. Firstly, Huang Wuyo had consumed some poisonous energy, which was why he had become so weak. But in order to enter the place where Huang Wuyo was sealed, she had set up an ancient forbidden array. She and Zhu Wu Xian were wasting time here. If they found a way to resolve the poison in Huang Wuyo's body, it wouldn't be so easy to poison him the next time. Furthermore, that ancient forbidden array sounded so complicated from the name. If it was solved, it would be even more complicated. There was no need to waste time here. Since you know this, why don't you listen to my arrangements obediently? Zhu Wu Xian didn't launch another attack, but stood not too far away from Yiqing Luo as he looked at her deeply. That pair of deep cold eyes was filled with tranquil darkness. Yiqing Luo's pink lips rose slightly as her slender fingers, which were holding the glower flame fan, moved casually. She caught a glimpse of Zhu Wu Xian's gaze and swiftly shifted to the direction of her fingertips. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. "This is your wishful thinking. It's not within the scope of my plan, so why should I listen to your arrangements?" She paused as her gaze fell on her own fingers as she smiled sweetly. "Moreover, between the both of us, we have a huge amount of suspicion and distrust towards each other. So why must we force ourselves to stand on the same line?" Zhu Wu Xian's eyes congealed slightly. He and Yiqing Luo were in a battle. The glower flame fan was Yiqing Luo's main weapon. The minute she moved the glower flame fan, his body's conditioned reflex had already made the most intuitive judgment. He looked at Yi Qing Luo's hand alertly, in case she suddenly made a move. This was normal, but he had no way to refute Yi Qing Luo's words. It was indeed so. There was no real trust between him and Yi Qing Luo. He would instinctively be on guard against her. Just like her suspicions towards him, she had long been on guard against him. These two people, if they really stood on the same line, they would probably be even more exhausted physically and mentally. But unfortunately, even so, he still wanted to keep Yi Qing Luo by his side, to let her belong to him alone forever. Zhu Wu Xian, you're lenient towards me, but doesn't mean that. I will be merciful. Suddenly, the girl's clear and melodious voice sounded, as cold as water. Immediately after, the girl who was originally carelessly caressing the gourd flame fan suddenly made a move, swish, swish, swish. A hurricane swept through the tunnel. It was surging with blazing flames. The raging waves slapped against the surrounding air like waves splashing in the sea. In that long and deep tunnel, the originally bright and clear environment, as the young girl's profound light surged, a faint and indistinct figure actually appeared in a flash. Vaguely, under the flickering glazed light, one could see the slender and graceful figure of a young girl dressed in pink moving quickly under the flickering flowing light. Her dress fluttered in the wind like a blooming peach blossom. Bang! A soft explosion resounded in Zhu Wuxin's ears. He was just about to move. As she breathed, a familiar fragrance entered her nostrils. His body suddenly stiffened. The black-haired girl in peach-colored clothes stepped on a flickering light as she closed in. It was during this moment of stupor. Zhu Wuxian's nose seemed to smell a refreshing medicinal fragrance. His pupils contracted as he speedily held his breath. But at this moment, his mind suddenly went blank. His body suddenly went limp. He frowned as he raised his eyes to look at the young girl. Both his arms were clamped by the young girl. That icy cold gourd flame fan's tail drew a dagger as it stuck close to his neck. Chapter 52:23. Zhu Wuxin frowned slightly. Even though he was not very conscious, he could still clearly feel the coldness of the dagger on his neck as it pressed against his skin. All the girl had to do was use a little more strength. That dagger would definitely pierce through his skin. Beside his ear, the young girl's clear and sweet voice carried a hint of laughter. Young Master Chu, how does this feeling feel? Zhu Wuxin's eyelashes trembled slightly. The young girl's smile deepened. Young Master Chu should understand the principle of not doing to others what they don't want done to them, right? He had used the same method on her over and over again. Now, she was using the same method on him. She wanted him to have a good taste of being trampled on. Zhu Wuxin had made use of her trust several times to achieve his goals. Yi Qing Luo still had some opinions in her heart, and she couldn't act as though nothing had happened. The lines on Zhu Wuxian's cold and hard face were as cold as before. There was no change in his expression at all. That pair of slightly hazy but still cold eyes met the young girl's gaze without blinking. His eyes were calm, and his emotions could not be seen. Young Master, Feng Qing Luo, let go of Young Master. What do you want to do? If you dare to touch a hair on the Young Master's head, the Illusion Clan will use all of our power to make you pay the price. Zhu Wuxin said nothing. On the other hand, the people of the Illusion tribe shouted impatiently. One by one, they stared at Yi Qing Luo nervously. He was afraid that Yi Qing Luo's hand would tremble and hurt Zhu Wuxian. Yi Qing Luo's pink lips curled up slightly. Her smile was like a flower, pure and beautiful. However, the words that came out of his mouth were filled with a sharp coldness. Right now, your young master is in my hands. If you want your young master to live, you'd better obediently open the restrictive formation that Huang Wuyo set up here. In order to completely break Huang Wuyo's seal, he had to first destroy the array that Huang Wuyo had set up. While Huang Wuyo was being corroded by the poison, Lin Fan took the opportunity. It was the best opportunity to break through the formation. The people of the illusion race were so confident that they could come here. There must be a way to break the formation. When the people from the Illusory clan heard Yi Qing Luo's conditions, Their expressions changed drastically. Opening up the restriction array, wouldn't that be allowing Feng Qing Luo to rush in and seal revered worryless completely? How could they possibly break the forbidden spell in front of Yi Qing Luo? But the young master couldn't ignore it. The people of the Illusion Clan were full of hesitation and confusion. Huan Luo looked at Zhu Wuxin, who was being restrained. Her sharp blade flickered with a cold silver light. It was as if it was going to cut Zhu Wuxin's neck in the next instant. She gritted her teeth. Feng Qing Luo, quickly let go of young master. Are you really worthy of young master's feelings for you by treating him like this? Yi Qing Luo's chilly gaze casually shot toward Huan Luo. Facing Huan Luo's angry and unresigned gaze, Yi Qing Luo appeared much calmer and colder. I'm merely giving you a taste of your own medicine. Since you asked me that, I would also like to ask you a question in return. Your young master claims to have deep feelings for me, but why did he use my trust time and time again? Is this worthy of his feelings for me? Yi Qing Luo's lips curled upwards as her brows were filled with ridicule. Huan Luo's face flushed red from the rebuttal as she clenched her teeth and clenched her fists as she stared at Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo laughed again. Since you're worried about your young master, then obediently destroy the array. Saying that, a crafty cold arc flashed past her eyes as her tone was filled with ridicule as she teased mischievously. You're doing this. Are you worthy of your young master? Chapter 52-24. Huan Luo was once again rendered speechless. The Illusion clansmen looked at the young lady's arrogant attitude and immediately turned to look at their other pillar, the Illusion clan's princess, Qingge. Princess, quickly think of a way. That slut really wants to kill young master. Princess, are we really going to listen to her? And undo the curse? No, we must not undo it. Once the curse is undone, that slut will be one step ahead of us. How are we going to settle the blood feud between us? Once she said that, the Illusion clansmen were even more furious and agitated. But Qingge kept her head lowered and didn't say a word. Her messy hair covered the expression on her face and concealed all of her aura. She didn't make any movements at all, even if she was impatient. Young master was still being restrained by Feng Qing Luo. Although they didn't have much contact with Feng Qing Luo, but they knew that the other party was definitely not a patient person. If they didn't give an answer after a long time, causing Feng Qing Luo to be anxious and directly kill their young master. Thinking of this, how could the Illusion clansmen maintain their composure? Princess, are you going to stay here and watch young master being killed by that slut? Someone's tone was slightly heavy. Young Master Chu's life was in danger. As the Illusion clan's princess, how could she not show any expression? But the young lady who had her head lowered still didn't raise her eyes. He didn't even move an inch. That person was the elder of the Illusion clan and had a stubborn and urgent hope to take revenge for the family feud and revitalize the Illusion clan. Right now, it was a most crucial moment. Naturally, he was filled with anxiety. That person couldn't help but urged, Princess, are you not going to save young Master Chu? If Princess is not willing, then we can only bypass Princess's command and save young Master first. After that person finished, he stared at Qingge, but he still didn't get any response from Qingge. That person was so angry that he flicked his sleeves angrily and turned around to rush towards Chu Wu Xian's direction. Just as he turned around, a sharp pain came from his chest. It was as if something sharp had torn his body apart. That person lowered his head and saw his chest. A slender jade-like hand had pierced through him. Princess, Princess. That person was astonished. He turned his head in disbelief and looked behind him. It was Qing Ji's hand that had penetrated his chest. The princess of the Illusion race wanted to kill him? Princess. Grand Elder Huan III. Grand Elder Huan III. The people of the Illusion tribe were stunned when they saw this scene. Why did the princess kill the 3 founding elders? The person known as Grand Elder Huan III had no way of knowing the answer. When he turned around and saw Qing Ji's sinister smile on her face, he felt a chill run down his spine. The hand that pierced through his chest tightened its grip. Ka! His heart was crushed. Huan San died with everlasting regret. Qingge slowly withdrew her hand. Her slender fingers and fair arms were stained with sticky blood. She raised her head slightly, revealing her exquisite face. That one glance caused everyone's hearts to contract abruptly. What kind of face was that? What kind of eyes were those? That clearly delicate and beautiful face was now twisted into a ball of malevolence. The contorted lines were extremely terrifying. That pair of eyes was also filled with a sinister smile. It was as if she didn't care about anything in the world. Then the crowd watched as Qingge slowly opened up her bloody hand. Chapter 52:25. Her blood-drenched hands were slender and delicate. Between her fingers was a piece of jade that shone with a mysterious light. That was the profound heart jade. Elder Huan III's profound heart jade had been dug out by Qingge. "Your Highness, what are you doing?" The Illusion clan members exclaimed in shock. They looked at Qingge with fear in their eyes. They could not believe their eyes. Their Illusion clan had been exterminated 10,000 years ago until now. There were only 20 of them left. Because of this, even if someone from the Illusion clan did something to harm Li, they would only punish him. At most, they would punish him a little. It was impossible for them to take his life. But now, their Lady Princess had actually attacked and killed Grand Elder Huan III, who had done nothing wrong at all. Elder Huan III was second only to the princess in the Illusion clan. Why would the princess do this? The people of the Illusion clan were puzzled. Qingge followed the voice and looked at the Illusion clan member. The smile at the corner of her mouth was sinister and terrifying. After that, a figure suddenly flashed, and it suddenly flew towards the person who spoke. Elder Huan III had been hit because he was not on guard against Qingge. But this time, the people of the Illusory tribe were already frightened by Qingge's strange appearance. They saw Qingge move. Everyone dodged to the side. But Qingge's strength was above theirs. The person who had spoken just now tried to escape. However, Qingge still managed to grab him by the neck and press him to the ground. Dong! There was a loud bang. That person's head was pressed against the rain. He could even feel a sticky liquid seeping out of his head. He opened his mouth and struggled to break free of Qingge's hand. But he had no chance to struggle. He felt a dull pain in his chest. Qingge's hand, which was stained with Elder Huan III's blood, stabbed into his heart. Then there was no more sound. When Qingge pulled her hand back, there was a profound heart jade in her palm. The people of the Illusion clan did not dare to speak anymore. They looked at Qingge in shock and fear. Their princess had killed another Illusory race member. Could it be that the princess had lost her mind? What are you all standing there for? Wait for her to kill all of you? Right when everyone was shocked and terrified, and their minds were filled with wild guesses, a clear and indifferent voice suddenly entered into their ears. Everyone was taken aback and looked in the direction of the voice. The girl who had been restraining Zhu Wuxin was now looking at them calmly. The black-haired, peach-colored young woman had a devastatingly beautiful face. However, there was not the slightest trace of emotion on her face. Her long and narrow eyes seemed to be covered in frost. There was also a hint of sarcasm in his voice. It was as if he was mocking their stupidity and ignorance. When they were looking at Yi Qing Luo, Qingge also glanced sideways as she stared at Yi Qing Luo sinisterly. The murderous intent in his eyes was surging like a tide, as though it wanted to swallow Yi Qing Luo up. "Is this your doing? What did you do to our princess?" Someone couldn't suppress the fear in his heart and cursed while gnashing his teeth. As soon as he said that, the crowd seemed to have found an excuse as they stared angrily at Yi Qing Luo as they started to accuse her. "You guys are really stupid." No wonder the once mysterious and powerful Illusion clan had fallen to such a state. Yi Qing Luo scoffed lightly, as her tone was filled with ridicule. "You guys can't even read a person's heart. How did you manage to divine for others, predict the future?" Chapter 52:26. What do you mean by this? Being ridiculed by a young lass in such a high and mighty manner. The group of illusionary clansmen who thought highly of themselves were instantly infuriated. Yi Qing Luo's slender fingers moved slightly. That sharp dagger stuck close to Zhu Wu Xian's neck as it tapped a few times. This action instantly suppressed the anger of those illusionary clansmen. Seeing that they had quietened down, Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled as she spoke calmly. Can't you all tell that this princess of yours has been bewitched? Bewitched? The crowd looked at Qing Gu in shock. They really didn't want to believe Yiqing Luo's words. But looking at Qing Ji's malevolent and terrifying face, especially when they saw the two blood-stained profound heart jade in her bloody hands, they had no choice but to believe Yiqing Luo's words. Their princess might have really been possessed by the devil. Otherwise, how could she possibly do such a thing? This princess is the one you should be loyal to. Qing Ji's voice was cold as she warned them. The one you should believe is this princess. If I didn't guess wrongly, Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled upwards as her narrow eyes curled into a ridiculing cold arc. You should have reached some kind of deal with Huang Wuyo, right? From Qing Ji's strange behavior earlier, Yiqing Luo had sensed that something was wrong with her. Then, in Qing Ji's eyes, she saw a familiar wisp of dark energy. Based on her understanding of Huang Wuyo, Yiqing Luo could totally imagine the scene of how Huang Wuyo lured the pigeon into the trap. Mentioning Huang Wuyo, the expression on Qing Ji's face changed slightly as she said, "All I want to do is to avenge the illusionary tribe and bring them back to life. Don't you dare to sow discord." Yiqing Luo scoffed. Revenge? Isn't the enemy of your illusionary clan Huang Wuyo? But today, you killed two of your illusionary clan's generals for Huang Wuyo. TSK. You call this revenge for the illusionary clan? Yiqing Luo tilted her head as her narrow eyes were filled with ridicule. If I don't say it, I'm afraid you will kill even more. Illusionary clans people? Her words fell. The hearts of the illusion race clansmen jumped. All of them looked at Qing Gu in astonishment, hoping that Qing Gu would retort. But Qing Gu only stared coldly at Yiqing Luo. Her eyes were filled with murderous intent. Apparently, he had tacitly agreed to Yiqing Luo's words. The hearts of the illusory tribe members turned cold at this moment. Princess of the illusion race, do you know what you're called now? Between Yiqing Luo's brows, the sarcastic smile became more obvious. This is called acknowledging the thief as father. Wasn't that the same as acknowledging the enemy as his father? Huang Wuyo had exterminated the illusory race. Qing Gu wanted to avenge the illusory tribe. But now he stood on Huang Wuyo's side and killed his own clansmen. Using this kind of behavior, they were trying to please their enemies by wiping out their own clan. What a joke. But he had to admit, Huang Wuyo's brainwashing ability was truly strong. Cut the crap. Qing Gu sneered. How I want to avenge my people has nothing to do with an outsider like you. You're trying to sow discord between me and my people. It's obvious that you're flustered now. Her cold and sinister smile made her face look even more terrifying. In that pair of sinister eyes, the profound Shi was getting thicker and thicker. It almost covered her eyes, leaving behind a patch of thick black. Chapter 52:27. Yiqing Luo gave a light scoff as her long and narrow eyes glistened. She gave a casual smile. Oh, do whatever you want then. Anyway, whether your Mirage Clan's people are dead or alive, it doesn't have much to do with me. Qing Gu raised her hand and pointed at the people from the illusory tribe. All of you, capture that bitch. The faces of the people of the illusion race paled. Looking at the ferocious and obviously crazy Her Highness, they stammered, but young master. Young master is still in her hands. If they make a move, wasn't she going to make an example out of young master? Why are you panicking? Although the clear pigeon had accepted Huang Wuyo's deal, it did not mean that it had lost its consciousness. She looked at Yiqing Luo with cold ridicule as her eyes were filled with ridicule. This big sister Fengqing Luo, what Fengqing Luo is most concerned about, is the so-called comradeship. Young master treats her so well and has saved her so many times. How could she really do anything to young master? Left and right, I'm just scaring you. Qing Ji's tone was firm. The people of the illusion race looked at each other, not sure if they should believe him or not. Qing Ji's red lips curled into a sinister smile. If you don't believe me, you can try. This princess is sure that Big Sister Feng's conscience will never allow her to kill the young master who loves her so deeply. Even if Qing Gu was so sure, no one from the illusion race moved. All of them took a look at Qing Gu and then looked at Zhu Wu Xian, who was being restrained in Yi Qing Luo's hands. There was an obvious bloodstain on Zhu Wuxin's neck. Fresh blood also stained the sharp silver dagger that shone with a piercingly cold light. No matter how he looked at it, it didn't seem like he was unwilling to kill. Their young lord was the only one in this world with the purest bloodline of the illusory race, and he was even purer than the illusory princess. He was the young master who had inherited the inheritance of the illusion tribe's ancestor. How could they use the young master's life as a wager? The people of the illusion race were silent and hesitant for a long time. Qing Gu lost her patience. She raised her hand. Her eyes, which were filled with dark, Yin energy, coldly looked at the people of the illusion clan. The majestic and thick, profound Qi was suddenly blasted away. The members of the illusion race were sent flying, each of them slamming into a stone wall and then falling heavily onto the ground. Qing Gu leaped up and pounced towards the nearest illusory tribe member. Her bloodied hand directly pierced into his chest. Since you won't listen to me, then what's the use of you? The woman's ruthless words were completely emotionless. Your Highness, you can't do that. Our illusory tribe has no one left. Don't be fooled by revered Carefree. He wants to borrow your hand to destroy the entire illusory race. The people of the illusion race shouted at the top of their lungs to stop Qing Gu, but he still couldn't stop this woman's ruthless and merciless actions. Bang! Qing Ji's hand slammed into the ground with a loud thud. Oh! The woman let out a muffled groan. Because she didn't tighten her grip, her jade-like fingers, which were stained with blood, slammed into the ground, causing severe pain. Qing Gu felt as if her fingers were broken. Her face contorted in pain. The people of the illusory tribe heaved a sigh of relief. Just now, just when Qing Ji's hand stabbed into the chest of the illusory race member and dug out his profound heart jade, just like Elder Huan III. Suddenly, that person's body seemed to be dragged by something. Chapter 52:28. His entire body slid backwards, and even on the ground, dragging a faint trace. Coincidentally, it avoided Qing Ji's attack. TSK, so cruel. The young lady's clear and melodious laughter, with a hint of ridicule in her voice, rang faintly. Qing Gu shot a vicious glare over. She saw the young lady clutching Zhu Wu Xian's neck with one hand, while the other hand was gently waving the glower flame fan. It was clearly seen. On the young lady's glower flame fan, there were many curved silver threads, as though they were broken, twining around that leg. It's you? Qing Gu frowned. Earlier, she almost dug out that raw, profound jade heart. It was this slut who used the silver threads to pull that person apart. Yi Qing Luo felt her heart aching as she looked at the curved and twisted silver wires which had exploded into balls of hair. She kept the silver threads back into the glower flame fan and drew out her dagger again, placing it towards Zhu Wu Xian's neck. After she finished all these, she then casually raised her eyes as she looked at Qing Gu with ridicule. Illusion Clan's princess personally harming her own clansmen. This show is really interesting. Even her smile was so casual. Qing Ji's mood turned gloomy. Her fingers clenched tightly as anger surfaced in her eyes. This princess is cleaning up the clan. What has it got to do with you? Mind your own business. Yi Qing Luo smiled like a flower. Seeing your unhappy look, I feel very happy, so you want to kill them, but I won't let you. Her words had just ended. At a close distance, she heard an unconcealable chuckle as it entered her ears. It was Zhu Wu Xian who was clamped in her hands. Perhaps it was because of the effects of the medicine. His deep and cold eyes were a little misty. His thin lips were raised as he smiled. Yi Qing Luo seemed as though her thoughts were seen through, as her slender brows creased, as she stared at him. Shut up. Be a good hostage. This wasn't because she was soft-hearted. After all, these people from the Illusion Clan were the last remaining clansmen of the Illusion Clan. If they all died under Qing Ji's hands, Zhu Wuxian would really be left alone. Although she was very angry with Zhu Wuxian's actions, although she had Zhu Wuxian as a hostage in her hands. In any case, he had saved her life before. He could be considered as her friend. Although he couldn't respond to Zhu Wuxian's feelings, but that didn't mean she was really cold and heartless. Obviously, Zhu Wuxian also saw through her intentions. Yiqing Luo couldn't be bothered with Zhu Wuxian as she raised her eyes to take a look at Qinggu and subsequently swept her gaze towards those people from the Illusory Clan. What are you all still standing there for? Are you tired of living? It was probably because Yiqing Luo had made a move earlier to save a Mirage clansman from Princess Darao. After the Illusory Clan heard Yiqing Luo's words, almost reflexively, he crawled up from the ground and ran towards Yiqing Luo's direction. They had completely forgotten that the protector they were seeking now was the person who controlled their young master's life. This scene made Qinggu even angrier. That pair of eyes that were burning with anger were filled with thick black inchi. Good, good. Since all of you want to betray the Illusion Tribe, I will fulfill your wish. Qinggu roared angrily. She suddenly clenched the two profound heart jades in her palms. Following that, she threw it towards the stone cave, which was obstructed by the restrictive array. The moment the profound heart jades were thrown towards that direction, the outer boundary of the stone cave seemed to have a layer of water ripples. Immediately following that, the profound heart jades entered the stone cave. Chapter 52:29. She actually threw the profound heart jade. To Revered Worryless. Princess, what are you trying to do? Revered Worryless is currently in a period of heavy injuries. We can take this opportunity to complete our plan by giving him the profound heart jade. Wouldn't it speed up the recovery of his energy? Princess, the minute Revered Worryless regains his energy, all of us will die. The people from the Illusion Clan had completely understood what was going on. Their princess had probably been bewitched by Revered Worryless. Otherwise, why would she help Revered Worryless? A bunch of traitors. What rights do you have to teach me? After Qinggu threw the profound heart jade into the stone cave, her eyes, which were filled with a dense dark aura, looked towards the group of Illusion Clan who were hiding behind Yiqing Luo. The murderous intent in her eyes was extremely obvious. She wanted to kill all of them. The people from the Illusion Clan were in a state of shock as their breathing became stagnant. They stared at Qinggu anxiously as they were in a dilemma. Just as they were feeling unsettled and on guard, they would explode at any moment. Suddenly, a young lady's mocking laughter rang melodiously in the tunnel. That laughter was extremely pleasing to the ear. You're all so silly at this stage. What are you still hesitating for? The young lady ridiculed. You're worried that she's the Illusion Clan's princess, so you don't dare to make a move. But she doesn't have any misgivings. You're the last batch of people from the Illusion Clan. The young lady's pink lips curled up as her gaze swept past the people from the Illusion Clan. Her eyes were filled with disdain and ridicule. She's thinking of using your profound heart jade to increase Huang Wuyo's strength. Yiqing Luo held onto the glower flame fan as the sharp dagger tapped on Zhu Wuxian's neck. The silver light was biting cold as it flickered. That made the people from the Illusion Clan's hearts palpitate, afraid that if she wasn't careful, the dagger would slash through their young master's neck. Why don't I give you a suggestion? The young lady was very satisfied with her actions, attracting everyone's attention. She smiled at them. You guys join hands and kill your Illusion Clan's princess other than killing Qinggu. There was no other way, unless they wanted to die. After knowing that Qinggu had become a demon and was standing on Huang Wuyo's side, she became his pawn. He even willingly gave Qing Pigeon his head and his profound heart jade. Then she had nothing to say. In any case, she had already saved those who she could. What should be done had already been done. Did want to live or die? That would depend on their own choices. She wasn't exactly leaving him in the lurch. This could be considered as repaying a favor to Zhu Wuxin. The people of the Illusion clan were silent, listening to the girl's understatement, asking them to kill their princess. How could they bear to do it? The princess was the hope of the Illusion race. How could they kill the princess? Oh, it's fine if you don't want to. Yiqing Luo had already seen the answer from everyone's faces as she spread out her hands indifferently and shrugged her shoulders. Then why don't all of you crush your own profound jade heart and self-explode now? When she said this, she laughed incomparably viciously. At least this way, your profound heart jades won't become Huang Wuyo's energy. She had finally poisoned Huang Wuyo till he was weak. She wouldn't allow that bunch of people from the Illusion clan to destroy this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Chapter 52:30. Once Huang Wuyo regained his strength, the chances of sealing it again were minuscule. If the Illusory clan insisted on helping the tyrant, she could only destroy the chance for them to help the tyrant. Yiqing Luo's narrow eyes squinted dangerously as her fingers, which were holding the glower flame fan, tightened slightly. When the Illusory clan heard Yiqing Luo's words, their expressions turned extremely gloomy. This young lady's words were simply too vile. It was totally stabbing a knife into their hearts. Huan Luo's dainty face congealed into a ball as she stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo. You woman, you're really vicious. I'm vicious? Yiqing Luo couldn't help but laughed. I won't kill my own clansmen. Yiqing Luo's words were filled with ridicule, just based on Qing Ji's earlier actions. Huan Luo had no way to deny or rebut. Her face was flushed red with anger, but most of it was shame and indignation, just as the Illusory clan's hearts were surging with waves of shock. Suddenly, a chilly yet slightly weak voice sounded extremely clear in the quiet tunnel. Listen to her. Those three words were like thunder, exploding in the Illusory clan's minds. The Illusory clan's people were stunned for a moment. A slightly older elder who looked like a veteran tried to probe. Young patriarch? That was young patriarch's voice. The man who was being held hostage by the young lady. That pair of deep, dark, cold eyes reflected a biting, cold glint. If it wasn't for that pair of eyes, which were obviously misty and hazy, everyone was suspecting if their young patriarch wasn't affected by the medicinal effect at all. That kind of cold, frosty gaze. It made everyone subconsciously tensed up their emotions. Illusory clan never keeps any traitors. Zhu Wuxian's cold, thin lips moved slightly as he spoke coldly. Since Princess has already sided with the enemy, then you're no longer a member of the Illusory clan. Qing Ji's expression was sinister as she stared at Zhu Wuxian. Young patriarch, are you banishing me because of that woman? The moment you took action against our clansmen, you lost your princess identity. Zhu Wuxian replied indifferently. Qingge did not get angry. Instead, she laughed. Her eyes were filled with mockery. Young master, you sure sound nice. It's all because of that woman. What do you mean this princess defected to the enemy? What about you? As the young master of the Illusion clan, you fell in love with the daughter of the enemy. Shouldn't a young master like you be called a traitor of the Illusion clan? Her words directly pointed out that Zhu Wuxin had forgotten his friends in the face of love. For an unrelated girl, he had expelled her, the princess of the Illusion race. To be able to expel her today, tomorrow, for the sake of that girl, he would expel the others. In the end, the entire Illusory race would be destroyed in the hands of that girl. She was also reminding the Illusory race. That girl was Huang Wuyo's biological daughter. The coldness on Zhu Wuxin's face deepened. He clenched his fists tightly, and a layer of frost gathered in his eyes. It was as if a thick fog was spreading in his eyes. Kill. He was too lazy to argue with Qingge, so he spat out the cold words indifferently. That word fell. The hesitant Illusory tribe members glanced at Qingge. After a moment of silence, they suddenly swarmed toward Qingge. To them, the princess of the Illusion race was of noble status. She was also the hope of the Illusion race. But, compared to the young master, they were more inclined towards the young master. For so many years, It was the young master who had devoted himself to the illusion race. He was bent on revenge. Chapter 52:31. Although they were worried about what Qing said earlier, they would be worried in their hearts. But they believed that their young matriarch would absolutely not treat the illusion clan as a joke. At least, young matriarch had never hurt the illusion clan. As for Qing, killed 2 illusion clan members consecutively. Moreover, that newly appointed divine phoenix, Feng Qing Luo, although she seemed to despise them, but she had still saved them. Saved them from Qing Ji's hands. They weren't blind, they had eyes. They weren't fools, they could feel it. Naturally, they could see who was right and who was wrong. After Zhu Wuxian gave this command, they hesitated for a moment because of their loyalty and made the final decision. Qing sneered coldly. Her eyes were filled with malice and anger. Facing the illusion clan's people who were pouncing on her, she totally had no emotions. Swiftly, she fought with them. Suddenly, a group of illusion clan members who followed her into Huang Wu Yu's sealed grounds. Just like that, they started their internal fighting mode. Yiqing Luo restrained Zhu Wuxian and was left to one side. Yiqing Luo might as well throw Zhu Wuxian to one side, to a safe position. The man who was leaning against the stone wall raised his slightly hazy cold eyes as he stared at her. "Where are you going?" "Just stay here and watch with your own eyes how your clansmen kill each other." Yiqing Luo's voice was calm, and the words she said didn't have much emotions. But when it fell into Zhu Wuxian's ears, it was extremely cruel. "Don't think that I saved the illusion clan because of you. You don't need to think that I care about you. You've made use of my trust several times and poisoned me. I will not forgive you. Now, you should enjoy the feeling of being poisoned and being powerless." Yiqing Luo finished her words and didn't bother about Zhu Wuxian. She walked straight towards the front, towards a stone cave, which was sealed by the array. On the other side, the illusion clan and Qing were locked in a fight, so no one noticed Yiqing Luo's actions. Yiqing Luo stood outside the stone cave as her gaze penetrated the stone cave and into the stone cave. The cave in front of them was an empty tomb chamber. There was nothing else except for the steep stone walls. It was as if the other end of the cave was nothing more than an empty tomb chamber. Yiqing Luo's slender fingers lightly pressed on the azure dew bracelet. The flowing red aura lingered around the girl's slender white fingertips. Yiqing Luo's eyelashes fluttered slightly. He raised his eyes to look at the cave again. The cave was completely different from what he had seen earlier. The originally empty tomb chamber was now covered by a hazy black fog. The hazy fog was thick and black, covering the entire cave. Black ripples could be vaguely seen on the surface of the water. That was Forbidden Array. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes narrowed slightly as her gaze congealed a little. If it was anyone else who couldn't see the thick black mist and recklessly approached it, they would probably be swallowed by the formation. She had to think of a way to deal with this Forbidden Array. She absolutely could not let Huang Wuyo regain his strength. Take his life while he was down, that was her aim. Yiqing Luo's eyes reflected a dangerous cold glint. From the corner of her eyes, she suddenly saw a figure. She congealed for a moment, and suddenly her figure moved as she leapt towards that person. She stretched out her hand and pulled that person over. The lady who was locked in a fight with the Illusion Clan and Qing was pulled over for no apparent reason. Chapter 52:32. The woman wanted to retaliate, but as soon as his palm moved, it was grabbed by a small, fair, and strong hand. The girl's clear and melodious voice rang in his ears. "Huan Luo, come over and have a chat." The young lady was suddenly pulled and crashed into Yiqing Luo's arm. As soon as he raised his head, he saw a beautiful face that could topple cities. Huan Luo's eyes were filled with such breathtaking beauty. The collision stunned Huan Luo for a moment. Immediately, her face turned red. No matter how much he hated this girl in his heart, Huan Luo couldn't help but admit that this young girl's appearance was the most stunning one she had ever seen. Yiqing Luo glanced sideways at the stone cave as she got straight to the point Since you illusory clans people have used everything today as a bet for the future of the illusory clan, that means that you've already thought of a way to deal with Huang Wuyo, right? Her long and narrow eyes were slightly raised, forming a rippling arc. It's useless for you to ask me. I won't tell you. Huan Luo's voice was tense. Tell me the method to break the formation, and I'll return your young master to you. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she indicated for her to look towards Zhu Wu Xian's direction. If you understand me well enough, then you should know that the poison in my body is extremely strong. Even Huang Wuyo's body is being corroded by my poison, let alone your young master. Yiqing Luo gave an evil smile. Don't tell me. You can bear to see your young master suffer unbearably? Huan Luo's face suddenly darkened and turned ashen. Her eyes were filled with worry as she stared at Zhu Wuxin. Zhu Wuxin was clearly sitting there, but his face was slightly pale and the cold aura around him had faded slightly. But in Huan Luo's eyes, she felt that Zhu Wuxin was in great pain at this moment. Otherwise, with her high and mighty personality, how could she possibly sit on the ground so absent-mindedly? He looked at Huan Luo's expression. Yiqing Luo knew that she had guessed correctly. Huan Luo must have some special feelings for Zhu Wuxin. The smile on her lips deepened, and her slender fingers tightened their grip on Huan Luo's hand. She closed the distance between them and said in a voice that only the two of them could hear, Actually, if you want to avenge the illusion tribe, why do you have to make things so complicated? Unlocking Huang Wuyo's seal and using your illusory tribe's illusory techniques to make Huang Wuyo work for you. Is this revenge? No. How can you be sure that Huang Wuyo will really be affected by your illusion clan's illusion technique? How can you be sure that your plan will succeed? The young girl asked the question in a smiling tone, as if she was very careless. But in Huan Luo's ears, every word made her heart thump violently. Yiqing Luo's words were full of smiles. Even her brows were indifferent and languid. Look at your illusory clan's princess. Huang Wuyo has yet to unseal his seal, and you're able to turn her into this. Neither human nor devil look. Are you sure that you've used the illusory clan's illusory arts to confuse Huang Wuyo, or that you've been completely exterminated by Huang Wuyo? When the last three words came out of her mouth, Huan Luo's eyelids twitched violently. She was flustered. She had no way to rebuke Yiqing Luo's words. Everything that Yiqing Luo said was indeed what they were worried about. Chapter 52:33. If the illusion clan's illusion was ineffective on Huang Wuyo, and if they undid Huang Wuyo's seal, what would the outcome be? Huan Luo's face turned pale, and the expression on her face changed from vigilance and disgust towards Yiqing Luo to worry and fear. Yiqing Luo bent over slightly to close the distance between them. Her presence was getting closer. Huan Luo was so shocked that her body trembled. Yiqing Luo's hand pressed on Huan Luo's shoulder as her voice was intentionally suppressed to bewitch. My suggestion is to kill Huang Wuyo and settle this once and for all. Huan Luo's breathing started to turn heavy and cold. Her eyes stared at Yiqing Luo without blinking. There was a ripple of emotions in her eyes. Silence for a while, so silent that the two of them had completely ignored the surrounding profound qi clashing against each other. Huan Luo then spoke in a hoarse voice. On what basis should I believe you? Based on me, I want Huang Wuyo dead. Yiqing Luo's words were icy cold as the corners of her lips curled up slightly. And you want to take revenge for your country's hatred. Then, you also want him dead. Huan Luo pursed her lips tightly as she kept silent. She had to admit that she was convinced by Yiqing Luo. After all, the current situation had indeed developed to a stage that they could not control. Even their illusion clan's princess was bewitched by Huang Wuyo and killed her own clansmen. If they waited till Huang Wuyo's seal was undone, would they be controlling Huang Wuyo or becoming his chess pieces? Huan Luo simply didn't dare to think of such an outcome. I can let the illusion clan's clansmen help you to break the restriction array. Huan Luo remained silent for a long time before giving her answer. She fixed her gaze on Yiqing Luo as she said word by word, but You must first answer a question of mine. Yiqing Luo shrugged her shoulders as she replied calmly. Ask. Huan Luo's pupils contracted slightly as her gaze became increasingly solemn. In your heart, does our young matriarch have any place? Hearing Huan Luo's question, Yiqing Luo was still in a daze. She thought that Huan Luo was going to ask about how to deal with Huang Wuyo or the relationship between her and Huang Wuyo. She had not expected Huan Luo to ask this question. In her heart, did Zhu Wu Xian have any place? This question put Yiqing Luo in a difficult position. She hesitated for a long time before answering carefully. This is our deal. I don't want to lie to you. If you're asking about the relationship between a man and a woman, my answer is no. But if it's something else like brotherhood, perhaps there is. She used the word maybe in a tone that even she wasn't sure about. However, he continued to explain with incomparable seriousness. From the start, Zhu Wu Xian and I have always been on two parallel lines. Even if we meet again, it's only because there's something to be gained. I don't deny that he might like me, but this kind of liking is not pure. It is far from the requirements of love that I want. He helped me a lot, but he also used me a lot. I can't say for sure what kind of special relationship we have. I can only say, no matter how much time has passed, I will always remember that a man like him appeared in my life. The girl's words were extremely sincere. Huan Luo had not interrupted Yiqing Luo's words at all. As she listened, her lips were tightly pursed and the emotions on her face were slightly moved, until both of them remained silent for a while. Huan Luo then spoke in a hoarse voice. I understand. Chapter 52:34. What she wanted was to know what Zhu Wu Xian was in Yiqing Luo's heart. And Yiqing Luo didn't lie to her. Huan Luo slowly shifted her gaze towards Zhu Wu Xian. At this moment, Zhu Wu Xian was staring at their direction without blinking with that pair of misty watery eyes. Apparently, he was very interested in the question that Huan Luo had raised earlier. He had heard every single one of Yiqing Luo's replies. His expression was very indifferent, and there wasn't much fluctuation on it. However, in his heart, there was a raging storm surging. He snorted softly. His thin lips curled upwards into a ridiculing arc. He was mocking himself. Mocking his own wishful thinking was mocking his own fate. Yiqing Luo was right. Between the both of them, based on their status, they were destined to become enemies. His feelings towards Yiqing Luo. Perhaps it was the obsession from a moment they first met when they were young, wanting to possess the only warmth. Until today's deep love. But ultimately, as what Yiqing Luo said, it wasn't pure. He couldn't give Yiqing Luo pure feelings, because he had his own responsibility, his own mission. Perhaps, to let her firmly remember that in her life, there was once a her. In fact, he should be satisfied. But in his heart, there was a voice that kept telling him to get her, to possess her, to make her fall in love with him wholeheartedly, to stay by his side forever. This was like a spell, slowly drawing out the deepest darkness in his heart. He shut his eyes hard, resisting the dizziness in his head as he slowly opened his mouth. Huan Luo. He spat out 2 words from his thin lips. His tone was very cold, but because of the hazy effect of the poison, it seemed slightly softer and hoarser than usual. Help her break the array. For simple words, made Zhu Wu Xian helplessly shut his eyes. He panted slightly. Yiqing Luo really didn't hold back when she poisoned him. The poison, although it wouldn't affect him much, but at this moment, it really made him unable to move. The silent Huan Luo, upon hearing young patriarch's voice, suddenly raised her head and looked at Zhu Wu Xian. Hearing Zhu Wu Xian's words again, her expression changed subtly. She stared at Zhu Wuxin for a long time before she pursed her lips and said, yes. Following that, his gaze turned towards Yiqing Luo. To break this ancient forbidden array, it's impossible to rely on me alone. What do you need me to do? Yiqing Luo understood and asked cooperatively. Huan Luo glanced at the people of the illusion race, who were fighting with Qing Ying, although Clear Pigeon was alone. However, the strength and state of mind of both sides were different. One side was ruthless, wishing that they could directly kill him and seize his profound heart jade. On the other hand, considering that this was their princess, they couldn't kill her no matter what. Therefore, after a period of fighting, the people of the illusion tribe were obviously at a disadvantage. There were also a few who were ambushed by the pigeons, and their bodies were covered with wounds. Keep the princess occupied. I'll go with the other illusory race members to break the restriction formation, Huan Luo requested. The feather fan in Yi Qing Luo's hand opened up, and a burst of dull, resounding sound was heard. Her pink lips curled up. Of course, that's no problem. Following that, she leapt up and faced Clear Pigeon. Clear Pigeon and the people of the illusory race were locked in a battle, and the black and dense, profound yin qi in her eyes had almost covered her entire eye sockets. That originally exquisite face was now distorted and looked extremely terrifying, just as one of the people of the illusory race was about to hurt her vital parts, and just as she stopped in time. Chapter 52:35. Chinga didn't feel at ease just because of the illusion clan's mercy. On the contrary, just as that person retracted his hand and had yet to put up his guard, her 5 fingers turned into a claw as she struck towards the door of mercy. Just at the critical moment, a fair hand clasped onto Qing Ji's hand. Immediately after, Qing Ji's body was sent flying. She smashed into the stone wall and then rolled on the ground. Qingge groaned a few times as she crawled up from the ground. The blood on the corner of her lips had stained her clothes, but there wasn't much change on her expression. She was still that twisted and terrifying. "Leave your princess to me." The young girl's voice was soft and gentle, with a hint of carelessness and carefreeness, as if she was at ease and contented. This made the surrounding people from the Illusion clan to look over. The young lady was dressed in a peach-red long dress, and her skirt fluttered along with the strong wind. She held the glower flame fan in one hand as she stood in front of Qingge, looking down at her from above. It was just a back view. It made everyone feel a formless pressure forming in the air. That innate and intimidating aura made it impossible for anyone to avoid it. Young matriarch has orders for us to assist Feng Qing Luo, to help her kill revered Worryless, to take revenge for the Illusion clan. Huan Luo didn't give them a chance to continue being shocked as she spoke to them directly. Everyone's expression changed slightly. "This is different from our plan. Princess's great change has already exceeded our plan." Huan Luo's face sunk as she pursed her lips and spoke in a calm tone. "This is young matriarch's order, and this is our only chance to take revenge for the extermination of the Illusion clan." Everyone turned silent. Huan Luo didn't give them a chance to remain silent. Instead, she headed directly towards a stone cave, which was blocked by the array. She stood in front of the stone cave as she raised her finger and drew out a drop of blood as she pressed it between her brows tightly as she mumbled something. This array, only by using their Illusion clan's ancient illusory arts could they possibly break the array. Huan Luo took action. The others looked at each other in dismay for some time. In the end, they still joined in Huan Luo's action. On the other side, Yi Qing Luo directly blocked Qingge, who had turned into black completely. He didn't give her any chance to ruin the illusory race's plan. The more Yi Qing Luo tried to stop him, the fiercer she got. The more Qingge raged, the more anxious she became, the more she wanted to break through Yi Qing Luo's obstruction to prove her own ability. Qing Ji's emotions crumbled. That meant that Yi Qing Luo had the upper hand. They fought for about half an hour. A dazzling golden light fiercely shot through the entire tunnel, surrounding the outside of the cave. Then it slowly shrank. In the end, it shrunk near the illusory race members who were sitting cross-legged and covered them. The people of the illusion race sat in a formation, casting ancient illusory techniques to fight against the forbidden formation. As the golden light became brighter and brighter, it was as if it was going to be blinded in the next instant. With a bang, the entire tunnel suddenly let out a loud explosion. The originally indestructible tunnel began to shake violently at this moment. Above his head, pieces of gravel were falling continuously. When Yiqing Luo stepped on Qing Gu onto the stone wall, she felt the intense fluctuation. She frowned and looked in the direction of the golden light. Why did this tunnel feel like it was about to collapse? Break! The people of the illusion race suddenly shouted in unison. Following that, an even more shocking and deafening explosion sound, accompanied by the kacha sound of the stone wall collapsing, was transmitted into Yiqing Luo's ears. Chapter 52:36. The golden light around the illusory race's people instantly surged toward the cave. The brilliant golden light intertwined with the dense black, profound Yin-Chi. It was as though two huge dragons, one gold and one black, were tearing each other apart. Following the collision of the two forces, the tunnel started to shake even more violently, as though it was going to collapse at any moment. Yiqing Luo was stepping on Qing Ji's chest and was shaken by the vibrating force as she looked towards that direction, which was the moment she was in a daze. Qingge suddenly flipped herself up and rolled on the ground under Yiqing Luo's feet, instantly avoiding Yiqing Luo's clamp. Immediately after, his figure moved quickly and he dashed towards the direction of the stone cave. Yiqing Luo's reaction was swift as she looked up and saw Qing Ji's sinister face, covered with a chilling, murderous intent. Qingge was thinking to kill the people from the Illusion Clan and stop them from condensing that force. This Qingge had really gone into a frenzy to kill all of her own clan members. What was the point of her existence as the princess of the Illusion Clan? Who would still respect her as a princess? Just her alone, the so-called Illusion Clan member. How could she revive the Illusion Clan? Looking at Qing Ji's eyes, which were filled with profound Yin-Chi, Yiqing Luo was almost certain this Qingge had completely become Huang Wuyo's chess piece. What a joke. Right from the start, Qing Ji's plan was to make use of the Illusion Clan's illusory arts to control and threaten Huang Wuyo, making him be used by the Illusion Clan. But now, everything was reversed. The person who was being used and controlled became her, and the person who played the chess became Huang Wuyo. This was the consequence of being conceited. This was the consequence of being greedy. In the end, to the extent that she herself felt that she was a stranger. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes squinted slightly as the expression on her face congealed. The people from Illusion Clan had already formed a united front with her. She naturally could not allow Qingge to disturb them from breaking the array. Although Yiqing Luo's thoughts were running wild, but in actual fact, only a few breaths had passed. Qing Ji's reaction was swift. Yiqing Luo's speed wasn't slow either. Just as Qingge raised her hand in an attempt to release the palm wind, which was revolving with profound qi, she waved the gourd flame fan in her hand. The gorging flame fan turned into a flaming top and spun rapidly towards Qing Ji's palm wind. Wherever the gourd flame fan went, a powerful, profound energy fluctuation swept out, like ripples in the air. Qing Ji's attack was blocked. She paused and glared at the devouring flame fan viciously, whereas the glower flame fan, which had cut off Qing Ji's attack, speedily revolved back into Yiqing Luo's palm. Qing Ji's eyes were filled with hatred and ruthlessness. She didn't try to hide her actions. Naturally, it attracted the attention of the illusory tribe members who were breaking the formation. He also didn't miss the fact that Qingge was trying to kill them. At this moment, everyone from the illusory race felt their hearts turn cold. Their illusion race's princess, Qingge, was no longer their princess. How ironic was that? They respected the princess as their lord. They wanted to kill her with all their hearts. But the Feng Qingge, whom they obeyed Qing Ji's orders to kill, had saved their lives time and time again. Looking at that peach blossom black hair, that ravishing young lady with a calm expression, blocking in front of them, blocking all of Qing Ji's attacks, the illusory race suddenly understood something. Their young matriarch, why would she be obsessed with Feng Qingge and love him so deeply without any regrets? Chapter 52:37. Feng Qing Luo. Did you think that by breaking the restrictive array, you would be able to seal him? Qingge saw that her plan had once again failed because of Yiqing Luo, and her expression turned even more sinister. Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards as she ridiculed. If you can't, then why are you in such a hurry to stop your clansmen? She intentionally emphasized on the words, your clansmen. Qingge had no reaction at all. That pair of eyes, which was filled with dense, profound Shi, was filled with insanity. Feng, Qing, she shouted out Yiqing Luo's name. As though she had gone mad, she pounced towards Yiqing Luo. That stance seemed as though she was going to perish together with Yiqing Luo. At the same time, the dazzling golden light intertwined with the mysterious Shi, and in that instant, a series of explosive sounds rang out. The two dragons, one black and one gold, coiled around each other with bared fangs and brandished claws. Finally, the brilliant golden light abruptly tightened its grip. That profound Shi was instantly annihilated in the golden light and disappeared. The people from the Illusion clan panted heavily as they laid paralyzed on the ground, their foreheads filled with cold sweat. The restrictive array was broken. Yiqing Luo looked towards the direction of the stone cave as her pink lips curled up indifferently. Her voice was filled with ridicule. I don't have time to waste here with you, so... Her fingertips moved. The profound light shot out from the devouring flame fan as it pierced into Qingge's body. That profound light was like a sharp steel needle as it pinned Qingge onto the stone wall. Qingge moaned in pain as she struggled slightly, and the thing which pierced through her body emitted a sharp pain. She lowered her head and saw clearly what was pinned on her chest. It was a silver thread, which was flickering with a silver ray. It was the silver thread in Feng Qingge's fan. It was just a silver thread, and it pinned her to the wall. Qingge was infuriated as she clenched her fists tightly, but there was no way for her to escape from the silver thread. Yiqing Luo didn't bother about Qingge anymore. She had no intention to kill Qingge. This actually couldn't be considered as it was for Zhu Wu Xian's sake. After all, Qingge was the princess of the Illusory tribe. The people of the Illusion clan should be dealt with by their own people. Yiqing Luo headed directly towards the direction of the collapsed stone cave as she sped off. The people of the Illusion clan only had time to see a figure flash past them. Young Lord. Huan Luo immediately ran to Zhu Wu Xian's side and looked at him worriedly. Are you okay? Zhu Wuxin opened his eyes tiredly. The face he saw up close was not the face he was thinking of. The expression on his face and the light in his eyes instantly turned cold. He opened his thin lips lightly. What about her? She naturally referred to Feng Qing Luo. Huan Luo pursed her red lips and looked at the collapsed cave. Big Sister Feng has already gone in. Zhu Wuxin placed his hand on Huan Luo's shoulder. The sudden contact made Huan Luo's body stiffen. She was nervous and a little shy. Young master, help this young lord over. Zhu Wu Xian forced himself to stand up. Huan Luo held onto Zhu Wu Xian's arm. Young lord, based on your current condition, even if you follow her in, you won't be able to help her. When Huan Luo said this, her tone sounded a little grumbling. Feng Qing Luo clearly knew that this place was extremely vicious and filled with dangers, but she still poisoned young master and left him here. If young lord met with danger, she didn't even have the ability to protect herself. Chapter 52:38. Even though Yiqing Luo had saved the Illusory clansmen, Huan Luo's impression towards Yiqing Luo had not changed at all. Zhu Wuxin pursed his thin lips. His cold eyes, which were slightly misty due to the poison, were fixed in the direction of the collapsed cave without blinking. The surging emotions in his eyes were enough to make Huan Luo tremble in fear. She knew that the young lord was angry. It wasn't because he was angry that Feng Qing Luo poisoned him, but anger at this moment. He actually had no way to protect Feng Qing Luo. What was so good about that girl? Why was the young master so infatuated with her? Young lord, even if you don't want to hear it, I must hear it. Huan Luo endured the spreading jealousy in her heart as she tried her best to dispel Zhu Wu Xian's thoughts of heading to the stone cave to help Fengqing Luo. With your current physical condition, even if you rush over, you'll be a burden to Big Sister Feng, won't you? Revered Carefree already knows that Big Sister Feng cares about you. What if you, Huan Luo, purposely lessened the strength she was using to support Zhu Wu Xian? Zhu Wu Xian's body suddenly staggered, and he almost lost his balance. Huan Luo hurriedly supported him. The cool and refreshing fragrance of the plum blossom seeped into her nose. This caused Huan Luo's heart to beat faster. Pretending that nothing had happened, she coughed lightly and continued. What if Revered Carefree uses you to threaten Big Sister Feng? Wouldn't Big Sister Feng have some misgivings? The tensed body of the man who was half supported by her strength loosened bit by bit. He seemed to agree with her words. Huan Luo heaved a sigh of relief, but she also felt a little sad. She heaved a sigh of relief because she had stopped Zhu Wuxin from taking a risk. What was sad was that Zhu Wuxin had ultimately listened to his advice only because of that one sentence, dragging Fengqing Luo down. He compromised. It was only because he was worried that he would implicate Fengqing Luo. However, Huan Luo did not say anything else. As long as Zhu Wuxin did not take risks and stayed here safely, that was enough. Furthermore, deep in her heart, she was still hoping Fengqing Luo could die at the other side of the stone cave. In this way, her young patriarch would no longer be infatuated with Fengqing Luo. Zhu Wuxin slowly leaned back against the stone wall, closing his eyes to rest. But the minute he thought of Yiqing Luo alone, facing Huang Wuyo, putting herself in danger. In his mind, Yiqing Luo's face kept appearing. He couldn't calm down at all. Suddenly, he keenly sensed an extremely faint trace of abnormality. That strange feeling was fleeting. It was so fast that he almost thought he was hallucinating because he was poisoned. That pair of clear, cold eyes slightly opened. Out of the corner of his eye, he happened to catch a glimpse of a black shadow moving towards the other end of the cave. In the blink of an eye, he had already disappeared from Zhu Wuxin's sight. It was him. What was he doing here? Zhu Wu Xian's expression froze, a cold dignity rising in his eyes. He said coldly, Huan Luo, bring me to her immediately. Young lord? She had just persuaded Zhu Wuxin. How long had it been? Why did he change his mind? Don't talk nonsense. Immediately, Zhu Wuxin emphasized. Even though he was poisoned, causing his voice to be a little weak, his aura was still there. Huan Luo was shocked by Zhu Wuxin's aura. In the end, she stretched out her hand and supported Zhu Wuxin up as they headed towards the collapsed stone cave. Young lord, where are you going? Young lord, you can't go over. That's where revered Wu Yu is sealed. Chapter 52-39. Although revered Wu Yu is currently in a sealed state, but just 1% of his soul trace is enough to deal us a heavy blow. Young matriarch, you must not go over. Princess is already ruined. You are our Illusion Clan's last hope. You must not get into any trouble. The people from Illusion Clan had expended a large amount of energy to break the ancient forbidden array which Huang Wuyo had set up, and before they could recover their energy, they saw Zhu Wu Xian being supported by Huan Luo as they headed towards the direction of the stone cave. Instantly, all of them were anxious. They had already lost an Illusion Clan's princess. If anything happened to Zhu Wu Xian again, their Illusion Clan, it was truly and utterly annihilated. But no matter how they tried to dissuade, Zhu Wu Xian's expression had not a single bit of fluctuation, nor did his vision fall onto them, only allowing Huan Luo to support him all the way to the school. The people from Illusion Clan were helpless. How could they let their only young matriarch get injured again, so they could only follow along? Yiqing Luo dashed into the stone cave. The collapsing boulders around them rumbled loudly in their ears. Her figure nimbly swept past all the obstacles. Her gaze was like a torch fixated on a certain spot in front. No one could see it, but Yiqing Luo could clearly see. After she stepped into the stone cave, her azure dew bracelet surged with an extremely violent energy, as though a line had appeared out of thin air. From the azure dew bracelet, It extended all the way to a certain spot in front of the stone cave. Ever since Old Man Tsung entered this place, he had some unusual movements. Under the influence of that sinister blood skill, he could only choose to fall into a deep sleep. This was enough to understand. There was probably some sort of connection between the Azure Dew bracelet and Huang Wuyo. And this connection, was it from Huang Wuyo or her mother? She could only wait till she met Huang Wuyo before she would know. As the cave caved in, thin cracks appeared on the ground. But it didn't affect the entire stone cave's internal structure. Yiqing Luo's speed was extremely fast, and she had already reached the direction which the Azure Dew bracelet was guiding. The huge stone cave was filled with collapsed huge rocks. But the place where Yiqing Luo was standing now seemed to be isolated from the surrounding environment. Broken rocks and collapsed rocks totally didn't affect this area at all. The ground was still flat. There were no rocks or boulders crashing over. It was as if they were consciously avoiding this area. And because of this, Yiqing Luo could clearly see. In the midst of the huge stones that have collapsed all over the ground, a lifelike phoenix spreading its wings was carved on a stone wall in this area. Her phoenix feathers were distinct, and she raised her head and chest high. She looked noble and arrogant, high and mighty. Around the phoenix were densely packed totems that no one could understand. Like a shackle, it locked the phoenix tightly. For some reason, when he saw the phoenix desolate on the stone wall, Yiqing Luo felt that the surging energy in the Azure Dew bracelet became even more turbulent. Especially, she could even feel the center of her forehead gradually heating up. The cherry blossoms that had been hidden all this time slowly surfaced on the girl's forehead. The cherry blossom flowed with a dazzling light, and it faintly flickered with a seductive red glow, which further complemented the young girl's devastatingly beautiful face, making it seem incomparably bright and beautiful. Yiqing Luo suppressed the restlessness in her heart and bypassed the stone wall. On the back of the stone wall, there were 5 large words, Huang Wuyo's grave. Huang Wuyo's grave? What did this mean? This place was Huang Wuyo's grave? But wasn't Huang Wuyo still alive? Chapter 5240. Yiqing Luo was filled with suspicions and curiosity. She was just about to size up these 5 words to see if there was any mystery hidden within. The raging hurricane suddenly surged over. The overbearing hurricane was like a tornado, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, scouring the surroundings. Yiqing Luo stood in the middle of the hurricane. Her ears were filled with the howling of the wind, making her slightly deaf. Her body seemed to have an extremely strong pulling force, attempting to pull her to a certain place. Yiqing Luo flipped her hand and grabbed the edge of that huge stone wall. In her hand, it felt icy cold, as though it was formed from a year's worth of frost. Instantly, Yiqing Luo's heart turned cold. But Yiqing Luo still didn't loosen her grip as she held on tightly to the stone wall in case she was blown away by that overbearing hurricane. The raging hurricane made it difficult for her to even open her eyes to check the surrounding situation. After that, just as Yiqing Luo was about to lose her senses from the hurricane, a ray of red light shot out from the stone wall under Yiqing Luo's palm. Following, there was a gush of scorching flames, which surrounded her. The hurricane blew wildly. Wave after wave of flames swayed incessantly, swallowing and spitting out scarlet flames. Yiqing Luo forced herself to open her eyes. What entered her eyes was a huge, raging sea of fire. The raging flames surrounded her entirely. It was like a blooming mandala in hell in front of her, floating with a demonic red glow, as though it could incinerate everything on the ground. The hurricane and the raging flames merged. This made Yiqing Luo, who was leaning against the stone wall, feel even more uncomfortable. She frowned tightly, enduring the discomfort of the environment as her gaze swept across the surroundings. The boundless sea of fire was surging in large swathes. Wherever her gaze landed, it was all engulfed in raging flames. But the scorching feeling was still there. But it didn't really hurt her body. At least this scorching heat was still within the range that she could endure. Wait a minute. There seemed to be a black shadow floating in front. Yiqing Luo suddenly fixed her sight on a certain spot in front. But as the raging flames swayed, Yiqing Luo's eyeballs seemed to be swayed by the flames, as whatever she looked at was filled with layers of ripples. The raging flames were still surging. She couldn't tell what the black shadow in front of her was at all. After pondering for a moment, she tentatively moved her hand away from the stone wall. The cold sensation on the stone wall disappeared. He didn't know if it was a psychological effect. Yiqing Luo felt that the surrounding raging flames had become even hotter. She pursed her lips and walked in the direction of the black figure. The flames surged and formed a bridge of fire under her feet. She stepped on the scarlet flames, her blood like fire. When complemented with the peach blossom red dress on her body, it caused her to seem like a goddess of war amidst raging flames, noble, elegant, and beautiful beyond compare. Further ahead, Yiqing Luo could see the silhouette of the black shadow more clearly. It was a human figure, endless raging flames wrapped around that figure. The minute she saw that figure clearly, Yiqing Luo stopped in her tracks. That was Huang Wuyo. Yes, the figure wrapped in flames was Huang Wuyo, with his four limbs spread out and wrapped in countless flames in the air. Large swathes of scarlet flames surged in the entire space. Yiqing Luo's pupils shrank slightly. Here, it was the place where Huang Wuyo was sealed, and these scarlet flames were the key to sealing Huang Wuyo. Yiqing Luo's gaze swept back and forth on Huang Wuyo, who was wrapped in flames for a while. In the end, he slowly shifted his gaze back to the stone wall. Chapter 52:41. If she hadn't sensed wrongly earlier. The sudden surge of flames came from the stone wall, which was carved with the words Huang Wuyu's grave. Or, to be more precise, that stone wall was a stone tablet. The stone tablet of a gravestone. From a moment she saw Huang Wuyu, who was entangled in the raging flames. Yiqing Luo already had a rough guess. If she hadn't guessed wrongly, this stone tablet was carved with a lifelike phoenix on one side and Huang Wuyu's grave on the other side. It should be made by her mother, Fengge. That phoenix should be the key to sealing Huang Wuyu. And the four big words on the back. It should be Fengge's most direct and sincere blessing to Huang Wuyu. She believed that one day, this place would definitely become Huang Wuyu's grave. He wanted Huang Wuyo to fall into an eternal slumber. The flames wrapped around Huang Wuyo's body, binding him to the point where he couldn't move at all. It came from the power of Phoenix Desolate on the stone tablet, the magnificence on the stone tablet, and the complicated and treacherous totem. They were all things which suppressed Huang Wuyu. The raging flames seemed to have merged with the air. Yiqing Luo looked over. Other than the raging flames, there was still raging flames. Completely, it had merged into one. Perhaps he had sensed that someone was approaching. That tightly shut eyes, even in the raging flames, the man's face was still pale, suddenly opened his eyes. His sharp and malicious eyes shot over, like a sharp knife stabbing over. When he met Yiqing Luo's face, that pair of cold and sharp eyes suddenly shrank. There was a moment of daze, as his pupils unconsciously enlarged. But very quickly, the other party seemed to have reacted to something. That pale, thin lips curled into a sneer of ridicule. Indeed found your way here. Yiqing Luo had been sizing up Huang Wuyu. Naturally, she didn't miss the moment when he was stunned and the changes in his eyes. Her long and narrow eyes squinted into a daze. What was he in a daze for? Earlier, what did he think of? Which was why he revealed that expression which made him lose his composure? Was it because when he saw her face, he thought of her mother? Thinking of Fengge, Yiqing Luo's eyes were filled with a chilly intent as she remained expressionless and met Huang Wuyo's gaze indifferently. Her pink lips moved slightly, and each word was filled with coldness and ruthlessness. If I didn't come, how could I make you completely disappear from this world? You would kill your father? When Huang Wuyo heard this, he didn't get angry. Instead, he laughed. Although he seemed cultured and refined, His eyes were filled with ruthlessness. Under this cold and sinister smile, there was a hint of mockery. Yi-Ching Luo was expressionless. In this life of yours, you've done too many wrong things, and the people you've let down the most are me and Mother. She paused, her voice carrying a bit of firmness. So, I'm sending you down to apologize to Mother. Ha! Ha ha! Huang Weio laughed, even more exaggerately. As he smiled, the raging flames around him began to surge crazily, wrapping tightly around Huang Weio's body. They were like fire snakes. Huang Weio laughed, but his voice was clearly trembling. His expression turned even more unsightly. Apparently, these raging flames would change according to his emotions, so that it would be easier to seal him. But Huang Weio was long used to this kind of torture. He was still laughing. Have you forgotten? Her soul has already dispersed. In this world, she will no longer exist. Even if this god goes down, I will not be able to see her. Ha ha ha! Chapter 52-42. Yi-Ching Luo's expression turned gloomy. That pair of long and narrow eyes were filled with anger. Her slender fingers clenched into a fist as a biting cold sharpness surged in her eyes. Very angry? It's right to be angry. Huang Weio looked at Yi-Ching Luo's expression and laughed even more savagely. Seeing you angry but unable to do anything to me, it really makes me feel carefree. So what if I've been sealed? Don't I still have to use my life to fight? All of you will die one by one, with your souls scattered. As for me, I can still be fine, or I could just watch all of you die one by one in order to kill me. Ah, a bunch of fools. A bunch of fools. Huang Weio's tone was filled with rampant ridicule. That obviously handsome, but because of his crazed, twisted expression, it looked extremely terrifying as a maniacal smile surfaced. Yi-Ching Luo's expression, in the midst of rage, gradually calmed down along with Huang Weio's maniacal ridicule. Her eyes were icy cold as she stared at Huang Weio expressionlessly. When he was done laughing, he then opened his mouth indifferently. So what if you're alive? Aren't you still suffering from endless loneliness and the oppression of being bound? Without freedom, you're just living alone. So, that's why you're so twisted. The young lady's voice was very calm, without much fluctuation in her emotions. But the words that came out made Huang Weio's laughter stop abruptly. Huang Weio's eyes turned cold. What do you know? He stopped Yi-Ching Luo's voice and shouted angrily. I only want to be strong. Only to be above all living beings, to be invincible and powerful. As long as I'm strong, everything will be under my control. There are so many people who are willing to submit to me. How could I possibly be lonely? His face was cold and arrogant, with a tinge of ridicule, as he sneered at Yi-Ching Luo. As for freedom, this seat will have absolute freedom soon. By then, you will be under me. As long as I'm around, I won't let you undo the seal. Yi-Ching Luo's voice was indifferent, as her long and narrow eyes were filled with a faint glow. Huang Weio sneered, Ha! You sure are confident. Yi-Ching Luo's gaze was fixated on his face without blinking, as her pink lips rose slightly. Of course I'm confident because I know that you're already panicking in your heart. Yi-Ching Luo's words fell. The sneer on Huang Weio's face froze. Then he stared at Yi-Ching Luo for a long time and suddenly burst out laughing. This seat is flustered? Ha ha! This is the funniest joke that I've heard in 10,000 years. His gaze was sharp as he stared coldly at Yi-Ching Luo, his eyes filled with ridicule. Even back then, when this seat and Ger crossed hands, this seat had never felt flustered at all. Just based on you, this seat's daughter, you can make this seat flustered? Yi-Ching Luo didn't have the slightest trace of embarrassment on her face. She just quietly looked at Huang Weio. It was as if he was looking at a person who was trying to argue and cause trouble for no reason expressionlessly. It was so calm and indifferent. Huang Weio's body, which was entangled in the raging flames, tensed up at this moment. That face, which was laughing maniacally, was also tensed up terribly. Seeing him keeping quiet, the young lady's pink lips rose again as she smiled faintly. Huang Weio, you're right. I'm your daughter. When she mentioned the word daughter, her tone was calm, as though it couldn't stir up any ripples. That was a kind of indifferent attitude towards this identity, this title. Chapter 52:43. The calmer she was, the more indifferent she was. This meant that this title had no weight in her heart at all. Huang Wuyo frowned slightly as an indescribable sense of irritation arose. Compared to the discomfort of being entangled by the raging flames and the intense pain in his body, it made him even more irritable. He hadn't even opened his mouth. On the other side, the young lady's clear voice rang once again. Because of this, towards you, I can be considered as understanding. Her lips curled upwards. The sweet smile on her pink lips brought with it a tinge of chilly coldness. So, I know very well that you're putting on a brave front now. As her pink lips spat out the last 4 words, Huang Wuyo's pupils shrank imperceptibly. Yiqing Luo slowly raised her hand. She held the feather fan between her slender, white fingers and slowly unfurled it. That feather fan was encircled with raging flames. It also seemed to have a red glow like lightning, flickering in and out. It contrasted against the young lady's fingertips, making them even more fair and translucent. Huang Wuyo, the current you, how are you going to resist? Her hand slowly pointed towards Huang Wuyo's direction. Looking at the man who was entangled by the raging flames and suspended in midair, the chilling intent in her eyes almost froze the surrounding air. No matter how strong you are, once the poison enters your soul, to detoxify it, you will need to spend quite a lot of time and energy. She laughed lightly. Her tone was filled with ridicule. Now you're just pretending to be fine in front of me. I'm not exposing you, because I want to see how long you can last. From a moment, she saw Huang Wuyo's original body. Yiqing Luo was already completely sure. Huang Wuyo's current state was merely a forced act. No matter how much Huang Wuyo wanted to show that he wasn't affected by any poison. But the poison entering his body was definitely something that could be seen from his face. Not to mention, those poison had directly entered Huang Wuyo's soul. Yiqing Luo only took a glance at Huang Wuyo's face and was already certain. Huang Wuyo was poisoned. She was rather confident in her poison. After all, it was a poison that was specially learnt to refine in the pill refining secret manual. Even for a cultivator like Huang Wuyo, blinked in the same way. Yiqing Luo's feather fan slowly pointed towards Huang Wuyo's face as she smiled even more radiantly. Moreover, revered Wuyo, don't forget that I am Feng Ge, the daughter of the previous god emperor, and I have the bloodline of the divine phoenix inheritance. She tilted her head and smiled brightly. So, do you think that I won't be able to mend the seal after I know what's truly sealing you? The girl's pink lips spat out word by word. Huang Wuyo's sinister face, which was filled with pride and mockery, finally began to show a subtle change. That malicious cold eyes stared intently at Yiqing Luo. Like a venomous snake's gaze, it made Yiqing Luo smile instead. Looks like I guessed correctly. You're really smart. You're completely different from your mother, whose soul has already dissipated. Under Huang Wuyo's extreme anger, he specially targeted the thorn in Yiqing Luo's heart, stabbing it in. But even so what? Do you think you can stop me from breaking out of the formation? Yiqing Luo's eyes suddenly turned cold as her expression turned ugly. She gripped her glower flame fan tightly as she suddenly turned around and headed towards the direction of the stone tablet. Whether I can or not, let me try and we'll know. Her figure stretched out as she once again got close to the stone tablet, which was floating in flames, pressing her hand directly onto the stone tablet. Chapter 52:44. That complicated totem and lifelike phoenix desolate stone tablet was flickering with an enchanting flame, as though it was welcoming Yiqing Luo's arrival. The young lady's eyes were chilly, and her eyes were filled with a frosty glint, emitting a cold and determined murderous aura. Just as she was nearing the stone tablet, the young lady's fingertip drew a line. There was a cut on the girl's white fingertip, and fresh blood oozed out. A drop, crystal clear, slid into her palm. That bright red blood contrasted against the young lady's fair skin. Following that, the young lady's palm flipped. In a blink of an eye, That drop of blood had covered her entire palm. Following that, she pressed it hard against the stone tablet. Bam! 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 A surge of strong, profound yin-chi surged from her back. Huang Wuyo shouted angrily, "Feng Qing Luo, do you really think that I don't dare to kill you?" Under the blazing flame, thick, profound yin-chi exploded from Huang Wuyo's body as he attacked Yi Qing Luo ferociously. That momentum seemed as though it was going to swallow Yi Qing Luo completely. Yi Qing Luo's long and narrow eyes squinted slightly as her lips curled into a sarcastic sneer. Huang Wuyo disregarded the state of the seal as he forcefully split out his soul consciousness to deplete his energy. This also showed that he was indeed panicking. This also showed that all her guesses earlier were correct. Actually, she didn't have much confidence. After all, everything was based on her own guesses and deductions. Looked like the key to sealing Huang Wuyo was indeed on the stone tablet. However, she still had no idea how to do it. The only thing she was sure of was this stone tablet had an extreme thirst for her blood, especially when her hand was placed on the stone tablet. She even felt that the lifelike phoenix's blazing red pupils blinked at her gently when she fixed her eyes on it. But there was no abnormality, as though it was her misconception, which was the moment when she was in a daze. Her hand, which was placed on the stone tablet, was suddenly clasped and forcefully pulled away from the stone tablet. Yi Qing Luo wanted to retaliate. He seemed to have guessed her thoughts, and he actually took the initiative to block her attack. After that, he once again grabbed her other hand and restrained her movements. The unfamiliar yet faintly familiar aura made Yi Qing Luo's brows crease slightly. She didn't struggle. She pushed against the chest that was pressing against her and raised her head. Then, he met a pair of eyes that were as black as ink and did not show much emotion. Yi Qing Luo was stunned once again. Gu Jingyu? The person in front of her had a handsome and gentle face. Just by looking at him, one could feel a warm feeling that was like a gentle wind sweeping through one's body, even if his face was expressionless and his eyes were lifeless. Even so, it was unable to conceal the gentleness and elegance emanating from his bones. In this world, apart from Gu Jingyu, who else could possess such a temperament? Why was he here? Yi Qing Luo's slender brows creased tightly as she looked at that warm face, which was just inches away from her, before her vision shifted on a Huang Wuyo. Gu Jingyu was Huang Wuyo's disciple. Now, he had completely turned into Huang Wuyo's chess piece and had forgotten all his feelings. The current Gu Jingyu was just a puppet in Huang Wuyo's hands, a puppet which was used to deal with her. She had to admit, Huang Wuyo's chess move was extremely well played. Gu Jingyu and Chu Wuxin were different, although Chu Wuxin had helped her a lot, but all his help was based on making use of her. Chapter 52-45. All of Gu Jingyu's feelings were extracted because of her, a person who had lost his feelings. How could he be considered as a real person? And the reason for all these was because of her. So when Gu Jingyu appeared in front of her, Yi Qing Luo was stunned. What followed was a surge of complicated emotions. Yi Qing Luo, long time no see. The man opened his mouth, his voice was calm, still that clear and moist feeling. His hand clasped her wrist so that she couldn't move at all. Yi Qing Luo's eyelashes fluttered slightly as she struggled free from his hand. What are you trying to do? Gu Jingyu allowed her to struggle free, and after the young lady took 2 steps back, he used his own body to block in front of the stone tablet, cutting off the distance between Yi Qing Luo and the stone tablet. His gentle eyes faintly congealed on Yi Qing Luo as his lips curled slightly, as his tone carried a hint of indifference. My motive here, isn't it obvious? You want to stop me? Yi Qing Luo narrowed her eyes. The previous you was not my opponent. Do you think you could stop me now? The more Gu Jingyu tried to stop her, and the more he understood a problem. This stone tablet, and her God Emperor descendant's blood, was the key to sealing Huang Wuyo. My dear daughter, then do you think, after his ability is not as good as yours, this seat will not undergo other transformations? That man who was entangled in the raging flames laughed sinisterly. Huang Wuyo's body was surrounded by a thick, profound yin qi. That face, under the contrast of one black and one red, looked extremely terrifying and sinister. Between his brows, there was a thick black qi. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. She was stunned by Huang Wuyo's look. She was also disgusted by Huang Wuyo's words, "my dear daughter," as she had goosebumps all over. She pursed her lips tightly, as she remained silent for a while. Transformation? What do you treat him as? He actually used the word transformation on a person. Gu Jingyu had been transformed by him. Wasn't it enough? The current Gu Jingyu only had Gu Jingyu's memories, but completely without any feelings, a puppet who only knew how to follow Huang Wuyo's memories. He had already turned into this state. Huang Wuyo was still modifying him? Did they really treat humans as machines? Yiqing Luo had always thought, based on Huang Wuyo's personality, he would definitely take Gu Jingyu's life after Gu Jingyu had helped him time and time again, causing his plans to fail. But Huang Wuyo has no cherry. Gu Jingyu was still alive and well. Yiqing Luo thought that he was after all a disciple whom he had nurtured wholeheartedly, so he should have some feelings for him, which was why he was so tolerant towards Gu Jingyu. But Huang Wuyo had extracted all of Gu Jingyu's emotions, leaving behind only his loyalty to him and his mind, filled with memories that belonged to Gu Jingyu. But he could no longer touch Gu Jingyu's memories. To do such a thing, did she really have feelings for Gu Jingyu? Did Huang Wuyo really just want to make use of her guilt towards Gu Jingyu to make Gu Jingyu stop her? Was it that simple? My precious daughter, the key to unlocking the seal lies with you. Huang Wuyo laughed coldly again. That laughter was mixed with some sort of emotion. Did you think that you only have the use of restoring the seal? He laughed sinisterly. I was still thinking about how to get you to help me break the seal, but I didn't expect you to send yourself to my doorstep. Yiqing Luo's vision shifted towards Huang Wuyo. The profound yin qi on his face and body, as well as the surrounding flames, became more and more intense. Chapter 52-46. As though they were contending against each other. Yiqing Luo's expression sunk as her long and narrow eyes narrowed as she pondered over Huang Wuyo's words. She was the key to unlocking the seal? What did this sentence mean? Her appearance. Didn't it make Huang Wuyo flustered? Why did it suddenly become? She was the key to unlocking the seal? Yiqing Luo's gaze swept back and forth between Huang Wuyo and Gu Jingyu. Gu Jingyu suddenly stretched out his hand towards her as his fingers turned into sharp claws as he attacked towards her heart. His palm was encircled with thick, profound yin qi, like a sharp blade, as though it was going to pierce through Yiqing Luo's heart. Yiqing Luo's reaction was agile as she swiftly retreated backwards, narrowly avoiding Gu Jingyu's attack. Following that, she turned sideways and distanced herself from Gu Jingyu. She lowered her eyes as she looked at her chest. There was a cut on her peach-red robe as a few pieces of cloth floated down. She raised her hand and pressed against her chest as she suddenly understood the meaning behind Huang Wuyo's words. Huang Wuyo's target was her profound jade heart. Huang Wuyo wanted her profound jade heart to undo his seal. Yiqing Luo's brows creased even tighter. Huang Wuyo was flustered previously. It was because she had discovered a way to strengthen the seal, and he was unable to stop her. But now, he had a capable helper like Gu Jingyu. Not only could he stop Yiqing Luo, he could also help him to obtain her profound jade heart. It was a good idea. Huang Wuyo had no intention to hide as he saw Yiqing Luo evading Gu Jingyu's attack. He laughed sinisterly. Your profound jade heart is the most perfect work of mine, and I've spent a lot of effort for this profound jade heart of yours. 10,000 years ago, this piece of divine phoenix profound jade should have belonged to me. Now, you have nurtured this profound jade heart for so long. It's time to return it to me. His voice was sinister and treacherous, with a hint of insane greed. Mentioning Fengge, Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes surfaced a trace of viciousness. She had seen that memory from 10,000 years ago in the barbaric bloodbone king's memory. Naturally, it was clear. Huang Wuyo touched the profound heart jade in her body. how he had hurt Fengge and deceived the barbaric Bloodbone King. At every moment, he was thinking about how to dig out her profound heart jade. Such a person was not fit to be a father. Yiqing Luo's palm pressed against her own heart. Her dark pupils were fixated on Huang Wuyo without blinking. Her words were icy cold. My things belong to me. What has it got to do with you? Still, did he deserve to use that word? Huang Wuyo sneered coldly. As he laughed, his face suddenly turned pale and his entire body tensed up. It was as if he was tightly entangled by the raging flames. Or perhaps the poison in his body was starting to surge again. However, he still tightened his voice and gnashed his teeth as he said, Gu Jingyu, dig out her profound heart jade. Gu Jingyu's emotionless eyes fell lightly onto Yiqing Luo's heart. His face was still as gentle as jade. However, the expression on his face and the emotions in his eyes were as cold as dead water. After that, he directly attacked Yiqing Luo. His attacks were ruthless, without any intention of showing mercy. He directly attacked her heart. Yiqing Luo's glower flame fan opened up, blocking Gu Jingyu's attack. My dear daughter, you only have two choices now. Even though Huang Wuyo was in pain, even though he was entangled by the raging flames, it had defeated his resistance. He still forced himself to smile. Chapter 52:47. That laughter was so eerie that it made one's hair stand on end. His malicious eyes were fixated on Yiqing Luo as his words were filled with malice. Either you kill him. After that, he paused as his smile became even more eerie, or he'd dig out your profound jade heart. Huang Wuyo was very clear about Yiqing Luo's current thoughts. Based on Yiqing Luo's character, these two choices. Both were unacceptable to Yiqing Luo. But unfortunately, he wanted her to accept such a choice now. He wanted to destroy Yiqing Luo's self-righteous goodness. He wanted to dye Yiqing Luo black. He wanted Yiqing Luo to become like him, a person in the dark, her own death, or to let a puppet who stood in opposition to her and had completely forgotten his feelings die. Huang Wuyo's eyes were filled with a hint of madness. Every man for himself, my darling daughter. He's just a killing tool, without any feelings now. Can't you do it? Yiqing Luo held her glower flame fan horizontally, blocking Gu Jingyu's fierce attack. Every move was directed toward her heart. That pair of dark eyes, without any light, was a void of spirit. If she continued to hide like this, after a long time, she would be the one to suffer. She took a step back, once again avoiding Gu Jingyu. She looked at Yiqing Luo and sneered. Are you sure you want me to kill him? Her fingers gripped the glower flame fan tightly. Her bright glass-like pupils at this moment seemed to be shrouded in a trace of haze, making one unable to see the emotions within. The young girl's dark red lips curled up slightly as she spat out a few words with a hint of mockery. If I kill him, no one will be able to stop me from sealing you completely or making you completely disappear from this world. If I can seal you, using his life to exchange is not impossible. Just like what you said, the current Gu Jingyu is just an empty shell without feelings, I believe. He is not willing to be like this, living like a walking corpse. The young lady's indifferent tone said indifferently. There wasn't much emotion in her voice, but it made Huang Wuyo stop laughing. Huang Wuyo frowned slightly, as if he could not believe that the young girl would say such a thing. He also couldn't believe that the young girl could still analyze things calmly like Zitz at this time. Their eyes met. One pretended to be cold and emotionless to hide the turbulent emotions in his heart. One's heart was in turmoil, and he was full of guesses. No one noticed. After hearing the young girl's words, the puppet, with a face as gentle as jade and eyes without the slightest hint of emotion. Little by little, the pair of hollow and dim eyes flashed with a faint, eerie light. It was fleeting. Amidst this silent atmosphere, suddenly, the sound of countless chaotic footsteps approached quickly. The first to enter was Zhu Wuxian, who was supported by Huan Luo. The man, who had always been calm and indifferent, was now leaning on Huan Luo in a sorry state. His face was pale, and his forehead was covered in cold sweat. His breathing was obviously heavy. The man's cold eyes sized up Yiqing Luo from top to bottom when he saw her. He confirmed that the girl was not injured. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief. When she saw him, Yiqing Luo frowned. "Zhu Wu Xian, what are you following me for?" This place was where Huang Wuyo was sealed. It was filled with danger. Based on Zhu Wu Xian's current condition, even if he was to stand here, it would be extremely strenuous. Chapter 5248. Isn't the reason why young patriarch came here because of you? Huan Luo originally held a grudge against Yiqing Luo, and now that she heard Yiqing Luo's obviously unhappy words, she couldn't control her emotions. For her, young patriarch disregarded his own health and rushed over forcefully, but met with such treatment from Yiqing Luo. What right did Yiqing Luo have? It was merely because of young patriarch's fondness. When Yiqing Luo heard that, her slender brows creased even tighter. She ignored Huan Luo as she looked towards Zhu Wu Xian, and her voice sounded a little disapproving. "Zhu Wu Xian, you know very well what kind of condition your body is in. What can you do to help me by forcing yourself to come in?" Yiqing Luo's words were impolite, although her tone was calm, and there wasn't any intention to go against him. But in Huan Luo's ears, it was Yiqing Luo's disdain towards her young patriarch. She was just short of understanding that her young patriarch was a burden. Thinking of young patriarch dragging his dispirited body and rushing over to this dangerous place, just because he was worried about Fengqing Luo. Huan Luo instantly felt that it wasn't worth it. The anger in her heart rose to the peak at this moment. Why did young patriarch become like this? Isn't it all because of you? If it wasn't for you who poisoned young patriarch, how could young patriarch possibly be so weak? Huan Luo stood in front of Zhu Wu Xian, blocking Yiqing Luo's slightly squinted, seemingly displeased gaze. Her face was cold as she continued speaking sternly. Even though young patriarch's body is so weak, because he was worried about you, he forcefully endured the discomfort of his body and came in to ensure your safety. It's fine if you don't know how to be grateful, but why do you have to say such words to hurt young patriarch? Huan Luo. Zhu Wu Xian's voice was slightly hoarse as he berated her sternly. Huan Luo bit her lower lip tightly as she had no intention to move. These words, "if not for me, young patriarch is filled with emotions. Big sister Feng, Great Divine Phoenix would definitely not know about it. Or perhaps you're pretending not to know." She intentionally emphasized on the terms Big Sister Feng, Great Divine Phoenix, in a mocking tone. Young patriarch isn't good at using words to express his inner feelings. He's not good at expressing himself, so even if he did so many things, you still can't see it. Huan Luo clenched her fists tightly as she straightened her body, as though she was bearing an immense pressure. Let her suffer, but at the same time, he stubbornly wanted to vent his anger. "Yiqing Luo, do you even have a heart? Do they have eyes? Can't you see what young master has done for you?" Yiqing Luo kept silent. It was only after Huan Luo had finished shouting hysterically that she slowly fixed her gaze on Huan Luo. Her eyes were calm, and not much emotion could be seen from them. That pair of long and narrow eyes rippled with a quiet and serene light. Just by meeting her gaze, one would feel an indescribable sense of fear. First, Yiqing Luo's pink lips moved slightly. Her voice was also very indifferent. He was poisoned because his skills were not up to par, so he only has himself to blame. The first person to poison was Zhu Wuxin. He failed to poison her and was poisoned by her instead. How could he blame her? Didn't she just stand there obediently and let him poison her? She was not a fool. As for the fact that Zhu Wuxin would be poisoned, she did not regret it. Don't say that it wasn't the right time for her to poison him. Remember one thing. The first person to make a move was Zhu Wuxin, whereas she was merely giving him a taste of his own medicine. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes rose slightly as she opened her mouth once again. Second, Chapter 5249. Knowing that your body isn't feeling well, but you insist on coming to this kind of place where you might die if you lose focus. This isn't called being wholehearted for me. This is called being silly. Within the forbidden array was Huang Wuyo's sealed grounds. Danger lurked everywhere. Even if Zhu Wu Xian wasn't poisoned, just standing in this place would cause him to be corroded by the profound yin qi and the raging flames which came from the power of the divine phoenix, which sealed Huang Wuyo. Moreover, it was him who had no battle power at all, even if it was because he was worried about her. He shouldn't treat his own life as a joke. This kind of worry wouldn't make her feel touched. Instead, it made her feel very burdened. Worry and concern could be used, but it also depended on the situation. Thirdly, Yiqing Luo's gaze slowly fell onto Zhu Wu Xian. She was replying to Huan Luo and also telling him solemnly, "As for why I can't see young Lord Chu's efforts, that's because, in my eyes, he has never existed." The young lady's pink lips opened and closed, spitting out words which made one feel sharp. "Because I don't love him, so I don't give him any response. This is my responsibility towards myself and also towards him. Rather than giving him a groundless expectation, why not cut off his thoughts right from the start? But I've underestimated young Lord Chu's obsession." She lifted her eyes and sighed faintly. "I'm very sorry about not being able to respond to his feelings. But this is not an excuse for you to use to accuse me." Huan Luo's expression was tense as she stretched out her finger and pointed at Yiqing Luo, her eyes filled with frost. But after some time, she didn't manage to retort. In the end, she clenched her teeth tightly and lowered her gaze. She supported Zhu Wu Xian, and her tone was filled with anger. "Young lord, you heard that right. This kind of woman, what's there for you to like? Heart of stone, not knowing how to be grateful." "Shut up." Zhu Wu Xian's face turned pale as he struggled to break free from Huan Luo's support. This action made his breathing even heavier. He lost all his strength as he fell onto the ground, even though he was in such a sorry state. But his stern and cold aura made him look extremely cold and arrogant. His eyes were sharp and cold as he looked at Huan Luo coldly. "Since when did you have the right to interfere in my matters?" Huan Luo was violently flung by him and staggered a step back. Her eyes were filled with disbelief as she looked at Zhu Wuxin. "Young master." Everything she said was for his sake, in order to let Fengqing Luo know what he had done. What did she do wrong? Take her away. Zhu Wuxin's eyes turned cold as he looked at the group of people from the Illusion clan behind him. His tone was icy and contained a faint killing intent. Huan Luo's body swayed slightly, as if she did not dare to believe Zhu Wu Xian's words. The people from the Illusion tribe hesitated for a moment before pulling Huan Luo to their side. Yiqing Luo didn't say a word as she silently looked at these illusory clansmen who were flocking over. Actually, this was the difference between love and not love. Zhu Wuxin loved her, so he was so obsessed with her that even though she had rejected him several times, he still couldn't get rid of his obsession with her. Huan Luo loved him, so she wholeheartedly stood on his side, feeling angry for him. It wasn't worth it. But she didn't love Zhu Wuxin, so towards Zhu Wu Xian's efforts, other than gratitude, or difficulty or perplexity, she had no other emotions. To the extent that when Zhu Wu Xian refused to listen to her rejection, she pestered him several times. "Seventh Miss who likes trash. Overlord, please be gentler with your love." "Seventh Miss who likes trash. Overlord, please be gentler with your love." Chapter 5250. At that time, she was only left with trouble. Just like how Zhu Wu Xian didn't love Huan Luo. So when Huan Luo showed concern and felt unfair for him, his heart wasn't moved at all, and instead he was filled with murderous intent. In love, there was no right or wrong. There was only love and not love. "You all really don't put this seed in your eyes." A sinister voice was heard from the side. Huang Wuyo's twisted and horrifying face was filled with pain. Under the coquettish flames, it became more and more terrifying. His sinister and sharp gaze shifted towards Gu Jingyu as he sternly gave an order. "Gu Jingyu, what are you still in a daze for? Do it, kill all of them, and dig out my precious daughter's profound heart jade, and offer it to me." As he opened his mouth to speak, The profound yin qi, which had been swallowed by the raging flames, started to slowly spread out again. The profound yin qi gradually thickened. The expression on Huang Wuyo's face became more and more painful and sinister, as though he was suffering from an extreme pain. Yiqing Luo knew that Huang Wuyo's current situation was totally fighting against the poison in his body, and even the deepest part of his soul. What made Yiqing Luo astonished was Huang Wuyo could actually endure so much. Enduring till now, he still had extra energy to spend on her. But after Huang Wuyo gave the order, that puppet-like Gu Jingyu didn't attack at the first instance. He stood there in a daze, lowering his head, as though he was thinking about something. Thinking? Yiqing Luo went into a slight blank. How would a puppet know how to think? But the current Gu Jingyu indeed looked like he was in a state of thinking. Moreover, he didn't act immediately after hearing Huang Wuyo's order like before. She congealed for a moment, as her long and narrow eyes squinted as she sized up Gu Jingyu uncertainly. Could it be, just as Yiqing Luo had some thoughts, as it flashed past her mind, Huang Wuyo's sharp voice exploded once again. Gu Jingyu, kill! That man who had lowered his head suddenly raised his head. His face, which was as gentle as jade, was devoid of any emotion. A cold glint faintly flashed across those seemingly clear yet emotionless eyes of hers. Fleeting. It was so fast that Yiqing Luo felt that she had seen an illusion. In the next instant, the man who had been standing still made his move. Yiqing Luo couldn't think of anything else. He doesn't have any thoughts. Protect your young master. Don't bother about me. She didn't know if it was because of her voice. After Gu Jingyu moved, his speed was extremely fast as he directly attacked in Zhu Wuxin's direction. He didn't even glance at Yiqing Luo from the corner of his eyes. Yiqing Luo only hesitated for a moment and speedily made a decision as she headed towards the direction of that stone tablet, closing in once again. The illusion race had arrived just in time, and Gu Jingyu's target was placed on them, which was just right. She took the opportunity to study the stone tablet. It would be best if she could strengthen Huang Wuyo's seal. Darling daughter, don't belittle your father. Huang Wuyo saw through Yiqing Luo's intention with one look as he sneered sinisterly. Following his sinister smile, cold and gloomy mysterious yin qi surged over. Yiqing Luo's peripheral vision was shrouded by a patch of dense black yin qi. She immediately retreated, distancing herself from the stone tablet. The dense, mysterious yin qi instantly covered the surface of the stone tablet. At the same time, a black figure gradually revealed itself from within the mysterious yin qi. His black robe fluttered, as though black smoke was floating. Trash seventh young mistress. Lord Dizun, please be gentler with your love. Trash seventh young mistress. Lord Dizun, please be gentler with your love. Chapter 52-51. That was a figure condensed from the profound yin qi. That revealed face. It was Huang Wuyo. After Yiqing Luo avoided the stone tablet, she raised her eyes to take a look at that figure and immediately looked at the sealed Huang Wuyo. Under the entanglement of the raging flames, Huang Wuyo's face looked even more terrifying and bloodless. He obviously had such a gentle face, but it was malevolent and sinister. When he met Yiqing Luo's gaze, that pair of treacherous dark eyes started to emit a deep and gloomy coldness. He grinned and laughed sinisterly. Yiqing Luo frowned tightly. Don't think that Huang Wuyo looked very complacent and safe and sound. But Yiqing Luo was certain. He was just forcing himself to be brave. He was poisoned and corroded by the seal. He had already used up all his energy. Now, he even used his mental power to condense a doppelganger. No matter how strong Huang Wuyo was or how strong his mental power was, right now, his body and mind must be completely empty. From the state of this doppelganger Huang Wuyo, she could tell that he was already straining himself. Previously, the doppelganger Huang Wuyo had formed. It was an independent existence. It possessed an independent body and could move freely. But the doppelganger Huang Wuyo now, it was condensed from the profound yin qi. Its body was shrouded in the hazy, profound yin-chi and was unable to form. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes narrowed dangerously as a sharp glint flashed in her eyes. If, taking advantage of this moment to defeat Huang Wuyo's doppelganger, it would definitely cause him a heavy injury. By then, while Huang Wuyo had no way to resist, she would completely seal him. She would definitely succeed. That lad can't be relied on. This seat will personally take your profound heart, Jade. The doppelganger laughed sinisterly. The malevolent face was filled with greed. His gaze was like a venomous snake, staring straight at Yiqing Luo's heart. The profound yin-chi encircled his body as it revolved crazily. The divine phoenix profound heart jade that has been nurtured by you for so long must be the best nourishment. With this profound heart jade of yours, it will definitely give me endless power. It will allow me to directly break through this damned seal and break out of this cocoon. Huang Wuyo's impassioned voice rang out. The doppelganger grinned sinisterly. Under the burning of the enchanting flames, it seemed extremely cold. It was a chilling scene. The dense black mysterious yin-chi surged like waves and lingered around the doppelganger's body, causing the doppelganger to emit a piercingly cold and terrifying aura. It looked like a black dragon. It could open its bloody mouth and swallow her at any time. Yiqing Luo had long been filled with vigilance towards the doppelganger. When the doppelganger moved, he had already made the most direct response. She stomped her feet on the ground, and the peach blossom black-haired girl instantly bounced up like a spring. The glowing flame fan in his hands also quickly turned into countless sharp blades that were condensed from strong, profound energy, forming wave after wave of surging waves in midair, perfectly and accurately evading the doppelganger's attack and retaliating. Two bursts of energy clashed against each other in the sealed space of the raging flames, giving off a loud, crackling sound. After this exchange, Yiqing Luo was almost certain this doppelganger's power was much weaker than the two doppelgangers she had seen previously. Moreover, this doppelganger needed profound yin-chi to be formed. Chapter 52:52. And in this place which was sealed by the divine phoenix's power, it was completely targeted at the profound yin-chi. It was imaginable that when Huang Wuyo released the profound yin-chi, not only did he have to break down his spirit and condense his clone, he also had to bear the corrosion of the seal's power. Naturally, his ability was much weaker. When Yiqing Luo crossed hands with those doppelgangers previously, it was extremely strenuous. But now, not only did she not feel strenuous, she even felt that. She could easily avoid the doppelgangers and counter them. As long as she took the opportunity to annihilate them, she would be able to cause Huang Wuyo's original body to suffer a heavy injury. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes narrowed. The glower flame fan on her fingertips spun faster and faster. Like a ring of fire, it formed between her fingers. The blazing red glow lingered around the glower flame fan under the sky of raging flames. As the young lady moved, the profound aura became thicker and more majestic. Following that, she attacked the direction of the doppelgangers directly. Her movements were swift. In a blink of an eye, she had already closed in on the doppelgangers. The aura from both sides was getting colder and colder. But, just as she closed in on the doppelgangers, Yiqing Luo's expression suddenly changed. She frowned as she stared at the doppelgangers in front of her. Her heart thumped suddenly. No, something was wrong. At this critical juncture, Huang Wuyo should be trying his best to stop her, in case she had the chance to destroy the stone tablet and seal him completely. How could it be possible to condense such a weak doppelganger? Wasn't this obviously sending her to die? So, what was Huang Wuyo trying to sell in his gourd? What on earth was he trying to do to actually expend his own mental energy to make such a meaningless struggle? The moment Yiqing Luo understood, she immediately retracted her hand and wanted to turn back. But, oh, that thick black profound yin-chi suddenly formed two huge black hands, grabbing onto Yiqing Luo's shoulders. That icy cold touch made Yi-Ching Luo couldn't help but shiver. A strong pulling force fiercely dragged her into the mysterious In-Chi. At the same time, Yi-Ching Luo's body hid into the profound In-Chi. A fierce, profound aura fluctuation surged beside her ears, as though it was about to explode beside her ears. Yi-Ching Luo wanted to move, but the hand on her shoulder held her down so tightly that she had no chance to move at all. Yi-Ching Luo swiftly surveyed the surroundings. The dense, profound In-Chi sealed off all the auras around her. He could even vaguely sense a sharp, cold light. Ha ha ha. Feng-Ching Luo, you've ultimately lost because of your conceit. Huang Wuyo's sinister voice seemed to be floating around her ears. He's smiling. His laughter was filled with pain, but it was also filled with joy from the bottom of his heart. It was a smile of success. Yi-Ching Luo didn't struggle as she tensed up and tried to sense Huang Wuyo's position. Don't even think of struggling. Following Huang Wuyo's laughter, Yi-Ching Luo could feel the strength on her shoulder increasing, just obediently become a part of this seat's body. My darling daughter, I let you be born into this world. Now, it is time for you to repay me. In the thick, mysterious In-Chi, Yi-Ching Luo felt the pulling force on her shoulder as it grew stronger, pulling her towards a certain direction, bit by bit. Yi-Ching Luo could even feel an icy cold touch was penetrating her chest, slowly touching her skin. It seemed like to pierce into her heart and dig out her profound jade heart. Seventh Miss who likes trash. Overlord, please be gentle with your love. Everyone please collect it. Seventh Miss who likes trash. Overlord, please be gentle with your love. Hit me. Chapter 52-53. Mother asterisk Kerr. Huang Wuyo was too treacherous. He actually schemed against her. Yi-Ching Luo's eyes turned cold as she glanced at the Azure Dew bracelet. Product equals book/web. Following that, the Azure Dew bracelet abruptly burst into a stream of raging flames as it encircled Yi-Ching Luo. The profound In-Chi that directly invaded her heart in an attempt to dig out her profound heart jade was instantly blocked outside. The raging flames turned into clear and crystalline waves of light. With a boom, a vast energy was released from Yi-Ching Luo's body. The profound In-Chi that enveloped her was also frantically tearing at it, as though it was contending against Yi-Ching Luo's energy. Yi-Ching Luo could feel that the two palm-like profound In-Chi that clamped down on her body was gradually increasing in strength. It conveyed a sense of urgency. Under that thick darkness, Huang Wuyo's clone's face had almost fused with the profound In-Chi. It was faintly discernible, crooked, and extremely terrifying. Lass, you can't go against him anymore. Suddenly, a familiar voice rang in her mind. Yi-Ching Luo had yet to call out Old Man Song's name. She heard Old Man Song's solemn tone, as though he had made a decision. This place is a seal formed by the Divine Phoenix's energy, used to seal the extremely dangerous and evil energy of revered Wuyu. You are the inheritor of the Divine Phoenix's inheritance. The seal here has no effect on you. But revered Wuyu is obviously aware of this point. Everything he is doing now, although it looks like he intends to stop you and dig out your profound heart jade. But in reality, he intends to pour his own profound In-Chi, this kind of evil energy, into your body. Listening to Old Man Song's words, Yi-Ching Luo's expression congealed once again. Her slender brows knitted slightly as she pondered over Old Man Song's words. She knew that she had been schemed against by Huang Wuyo. She originally thought that she had been schemed against by Huang Wuyo to control her. She didn't expect all of this was just the surface of Huang Wuyo's scheme, and the real hidden motive was so vicious. No wonder when the clone and the profound In-Chi fused. The profound In-Chi kept surging into her body. She thought it was to dig out the profound heart jade. Unexpectedly, Yi-Ching Luo's long and narrow eyes narrowed dangerously, reflecting a sharp, cold glint. This Huang Wuyo wanted her to be contaminated by the mysterious Yin Qi and be corroded by the seal. What a good idea. You're not the only one fighting here. Revered Sir Worryless has stayed in this sealed land for tens of thousands of years. Even with the power of the divine phoenix suppressing him, he's still revered Sir Worryless after all. He's an existence that's comparable to the Emperor of the Divine Emperor. The fact that he could create a clone, establish the palace of tenebrous darkness, and control all the realms while being sealed was enough to prove that he was getting stronger and stronger. The longer these people stayed in this sealed area, the more they would be eroded by the mysterious Yin Qi here. At that time, this seal will treat it as an evil force and purify it. Old Man Song spoke very quickly, but each and every word was clearly transmitted into Yi Qing Luo's ears. You could drag it out, but they can't. Old Man Song was very clear that although Yi Qing Luo wasn't a saint, but she wouldn't go so far as to watch innocent lives disappear in front of her eyes and remain indifferent, especially when these people could be considered as having a little bit of relationship with her. It was even more impossible for her to watch them die. Yi Qing Luo's heart thumped slightly when she heard Old Man Song's words. When she opened her mouth, her voice sounded extremely hoarse. Then, your meaning is... Chapter 52-54. Old Man Song was silent for a moment. Yi Qing Luo could feel the surging, scorching sensation on her wrist. She pursed her lips tightly as her heart sank. Old Man Song, you know my temper. You know that I will not allow you to make decisions on your own. She understood Old Man Song, just like how Old Man Song understood her. From Old Man Song's silence, Yi Qing Luo had already heard something that she didn't dare to think about. Luo lass. Old Man Song's deep voice floated in Yi Qing Luo's mind. That low and deep voice had a hint of gratification in it. This old man knows that the current you is already a divine phoenix emperor who can take charge of a region by yourself. Even without me by your side, I believe that you can become a better and more admirable divine phoenix than your mother. Old Man Song. Yi Qing Luo's pupils constricted and her exquisite face turned pale. Don't mess around. Ever since I came to this strange world, you've always been by my side. We've already experienced so much and come this far. If you're not with me, what's the point of me being a divine phoenix? Silly girl, don't say that. Old Man Song laughed lowly as his tone was filled with the pampering of an elder. Do you know why I became the Azure Dew Bracelet's guardian spirit? Yi Qing Luo didn't answer. Old Man Song continued, because guardian spirit means to protect. Divine Phoenix Emperor Feng Gu passed the Azure Dew Bracelet to you in order for me to protect you, inherit the position of Divine Phoenix, and complete her last wish. The meaning of my existence is to protect you. I have no regrets to be able to protect you until now. Every single word and sentence was like a confession to Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo's heart felt like it was tightly gripped by an icy cold palm. Her heart was in pain, and there was a kind of extreme coldness that attacked her entire body. No, I don't want it. Yi Qing Luo's petite body started to tremble slightly. Under the dense, profound Yin Qi, that young lady dressed in a peach blossom long dress slowly moved her hand, which was unable to move, pressing on her own arm. She didn't care at all as the profound Yin Qi had already wrapped around her. Their attention was focused on the Azure Dew Bracelet. Her slender, jade-like fingers lightly touched the glittering cherry blossom petals of the Azure Dew Bracelet. Old Man Song, I won't allow you to make a decision on your own. You'd better get rid of your current thoughts. It's too late, lass. Little by little, Old Man Song's spirit body swayed out of the Azure Dew Bracelet. That illusory spiritual body was extremely eye-catching under the dense black Yin Qi. You must use your oppressive power to mend the Divine Phoenix seal as soon as possible, or kill revered Carefree. As Old Man Song's words fell into Yi Qing Luo's ears. Little by little, Old Man Song's illusory spirit body transformed into a bewitching flowing light that was like a blazing flame as it encircled Yi Qing Luo's wrist. Actually, I'm not leaving. I'm just using a different method to protect you. The last 3 words, faintly discernible. Yiqing Luo almost thought that she was hallucinating. Her pupils continued to dilate and contract. He couldn't help but blurt out, "Old man song." It was no longer an exchange of thoughts, but he had actually shouted out his name. But no one responded to her. That white, green smoke like spiritual body instantly disappeared in front of Yiqing Luo's eyes. At the same time, Chapter 52-55. Yiqing Luo felt her wrist burning as though it was on fire. The next moment, boundless profound energy gushed into her limbs and bones. Boom! There was a sudden buzzing sound in her mind. What is this? The people from the Illusion Clan were blocking Gu Jingyu's killer move towards Zhu Wu Xian. All of a sudden, the group of them was thrown to the ground by a vast force. Such a terrifying energy appeared. Both parties immediately stopped fighting. One by one, they looked towards the direction where the energy came from. They saw that not far ahead, the thick black, profound yin qi was intertwining with the sky, full of raging flames. No, that raging flame was different from the raging flame seal, which they saw when they first entered the sealed grounds. That was a kind of extreme red, like a phoenix spreading its wings to soar into the sky. With an overwhelming momentum, it broke through the profound yin qi. Zhu Wuxian leaned against the wall as his cold eyes stared fixedly at that figure which was wrapped in raging flames. His thin, crimson lips were slightly pursed. Finally, it turned into a soft sigh. The energy has completely awakened. Fate is ultimately unable to be changed. But now, no one heard Zhu Wuxian's soft sigh. Woo! A painful moan was heard from not too far away. Huang Weiyou, whose 4 limbs were bound by the raging flames, bounced backwards heavily and was caught back by the raging flames. Huang Weiyou's face was ghastly pale as blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. The surging profound yin qi in the surroundings had obviously weakened by quite a bit. His eyes were filled with disbelief as he stared at Yiqing Luo's direction. His eyes were filled with anger. Feng Ge, that rascal. He actually left such a sharp weapon for Feng Qing Luo. Even in death, he was still scheming against him. Huang Weiyou could feel that the energy on his body was dissipating continuously. The profound yin qi which encircled his body, forming a protective shield, was also dispersing bit by bit under the purification of the raging flames. His face was livid and dark, extremely ugly. He knew that Yiqing Luo had quite a number of protective talismans on her, and he was very clear that Yiqing Luo had a trump card on her, and it was because of that trump card, which made him stumble over Yiqing Luo time and time again. What he didn't expect was that trump card was actually the Azure Dew bracelet on Yiqing Luo's wrist, which was refined from Feng Ji's soul. Yes, this was a soul-forged Azure Dew bracelet. This was an Azure Dew bracelet that was forged by consuming one's own cultivation and using one's soul as the core. It didn't just contain Feng Ji's power. There was even a hidden power that made people tremble in fear at the mention of it. He had also heard about Feng Ge forging the Azure Dew bracelets and the Azure Dew divine artifact. Back then, when he was with Feng Ge, he had thought of looking for an opportunity to find the Azure Dew bracelet and the Azure Dew 5-piece set. He had seen the Azure Water 5-piece set many times, but he had never seen the Azure Dew bracelet before. He had not expected that. Feng Ge would pass the Azure Dew bracelet into Yiqing Luo's hands. No wonder he couldn't find any traces of Yiqing Luo back then. So when Feng Ge sent Yiqing Luo into the 21st century realm, he used the Azure Dew bracelet to obstruct his search. Or perhaps the existence of the Azure Dew bracelet was precisely because of Yiqing Luo. When the power of the Azure Dew bracelet and its master combined into one, that was when its power was at its strongest. Just like Yiqing Luo right now. Of course, no matter how Huang Weiyou thought about it, he wouldn't be able to understand. The activation of the Azure Dew bracelet's power, it was because of Old Man Song's self-sacrifice. 7th Miss who likes trash. Overlord, please be gentler and collected. 7th Miss who likes trash. Overlord, please be gentler and hit me. Chapter 52-56. And it was because of Old Man Song's sacrifice. This caused Yi Qing Luo's emotions to be totally out of control. Originally, because she inherited the God Emperor's inheritance, the profound qi in her body was suppressed. At this moment, it was like water bursting out from a dam, spreading wave after wave throughout Yi Qing Luo's limbs and bones. Yi Qing Luo's energy exploded at this moment. Her power was unfathomable and shocking. But the drawback was, Yi Qing Luo's body couldn't take such a load. Her energy was completely in a messy state in her body. But at this moment, no one could stop Yi Qing Luo from going berserk. You fall into a deep sleep forever. A coquettish flame, like the cry of a phoenix, shot up into the sky. With a loud bang, the profound yin qi surrounding Yi Qing Luo's body was completely blown away. Powerful energy surged around Yi Qing Luo's body. Under that raging flame, young Lady Peach Blossom's figure was flickering like a sharp cold ray, like a 1,000-year-old frost, piercing through everyone's eyes. She held the glower flame fan in one hand, slowly pointing it at Huang Wuyo. That glower flame fan carried a piercingly cold and majestic profound energy, surging like a wave. Bam! There was no hesitation or pause at all. Under the coquettish and glaring profound qi, the glower flame fan on the young lady's fingertips was like a poisonous snake swaying, outlining a flaming tail. My precious daughter, do you think this level can hurt me? Huang Wuyo's eyes widened, bloodshot red. His face was sinister as he shouted angrily. Under the entanglement of the God Emperor's seal, countless profound yin qi was released. The moment the two terrifying forces collided in mid-air, a terrifying aura burst forth. As if one could vaguely hear that not far away, there was a faint cracking sound coming from the huge stone tablet. When the two energies collided, Huang Wuyo's heart felt like it was being torn apart. His entire body seemed to be bound by a huge force, as if it wanted to devour his everything. For thousands of years, even when he was facing Feng Ge, he had never felt such a pressing feeling. And now, facing Yi Qing Luo, the daughter who he had always treated as the divine phoenix profound jade heart's vessel, the prophesied tool to obtain the world, it actually made him, for the first time in his life, feel a sense of oppression. He couldn't wait any longer. He had no more time. Never mind, as long as he could break this damned seal and regain his freedom, even if he hadn't recovered his full strength. He had the absolute confidence to make Yi Qing Luo completely become a puppet that was controlled by him. A trace of ruthlessness flashed across Huang Wuyo's eyes at the thought of this. Yi Qing Luo didn't stop after that strike as she launched another attack. The profound radiance that resembled a phoenix spreading its wings contained terrifying killing intent that interweaved into a sharp blade that could take away a person's life. Her stance, it was clear that he wanted to kill him by force. This time, Huang Wuyo had no intention of dodging. But when Yi Qing Luo went up to meet him, the mysterious yin qi that enveloped his body suddenly turned into strands of black threads that merged with the raging flames. Dense streams of light interweaved with the raging flames. Without the protection of the mysterious yin qi, Huang Wuyo let out a groan. That sinister and twisted face twisted into a ball due to the pain, and his entire body began to curl up slightly. He didn't have the mysterious yin qi as a shield. He was thoroughly enjoying the pain of being entangled by the God Emperor's seal. However, under the extreme pain, the corners of Huang Wuyo's mouth slowly curled up into a smile. That smile was so strange that it made one's heart turn cold. Chapter 52-57. Yi Qing Luo frowned slightly. Did Huang Wuyo still have any tricks up his sleeves? Her long and narrow eyes narrowed as her fingertips lightly tapped the air. The power of the glowing flame fan, the terrifying and dense, profound energy, slowly rippled out in the air. Yi Qing Luo, don't go near him. A weak voice came from not far away. It was Zhu Wuxin. His scorching cold eyes congealed on Yi Qing Luo, focused and serious. 10,000 years ago, other than the one who gets you, gets the world. Actually, there's still the second half of the prophecy. Zhu Wu Xian's words not only made Yi Qing Luo look towards him. Even Huang Wuyo, who was smiling weirdly, looked over. There was a second half to the prophecy? What did that mean? The second half is Zhu Wu Xian looked at Yi Qing Luo as he spoke out word by word. Phoenix girl descending from the heavens, the awakening of the phoenix is about to destroy the world. Impossible. Huang Wuyo roared in anger, his eyes bloodshot. His body, which was curled up under the seal, was extremely tense and trembling. It was like a demon that was about to break free from its shackles in rage. The awakening of the phoenix, the destruction of the world, just based on Yi Qing Luo. How could he possibly destroy Wan Shi? How could someone like her, who valued relationships and loyalty so much, destroy the world? Chu Wuxin said mockingly, "The prophecies of the illusion race have never been successful." Back then, after Venerable Carefree obtained the first clue, he exterminated the entire illusion race. How did he know? The second half of the prophecy. Then how did you know? Huang Wuyo was furious. Back then, Huang Wuyo had gone back to find the illusion race. It was because he believed in the prophecy of the illusory race. Now that he heard Zhu Wuxin's words, it was completely different from the prophecy he had heard. His confidence and belief that he would soon be able to control all the worlds in the world also showed signs of collapsing at this moment. The one who obtained the Phoenix Lady would obtain the world. The awakening of the Phoenix would destroy the world. These two prophecies, there were two completely different results. He had painstakingly planned all of this, and he had even given up on the warmth that he had once wanted for a moment. He wholeheartedly lured the so-called Phoenix Lady, which was Yi Qing Luo, into this world, all for the sake of obtaining Yi Qing Luo, to obtain the myriad worlds. But now this Phoenix girl that he had painstakingly designed, the one who could make him stand above all worlds, instead, he became the person who destroyed the world. It was also to destroy the person he wished for. No, absolutely impossible. He would absolutely not let Yi Qing Luo become the person who would destroy the world. What he wanted was for her to become his tool. The ruthlessness and profound yin qi in Huang Wuyo's eyes intensified. Her eyes were almost covered with a layer of deep darkness. Meanwhile, the mysterious yin qi, which had turned into countless thin threads, suddenly twisted. The thin threads, carrying with them a ferocious and terrifying power, twisted and spiraled, forming a strange totem. The densely packed streams of black light were exceptionally obvious under the blazing flames. That complicated totem was clearly reflected in Yi Qing Luo's eyes. The girl's long and narrow eyes flickered with a cold light, like ice falling from the sky, without the slightest fluctuation of emotion. Huang Wuyo had always been good at using sinister and cunning methods. Especially, he knew all kinds of ancient forbidden techniques, forbidden spells, forbidden formations, and other unorthodox things. This totem, she was afraid. Yi Qing Luo's eyes narrowed dangerously. Her fingertips moved swiftly. The glower flame fan spun out a fire dragon, bared its fangs, and brandished its claws as it pounced towards that totem. Boom! A deafening explosion was heard. The entire space seemed to have exploded. The raging flames spun rapidly and started to distort. Trash, seventh young mistress. Lord Dizun, please be gentler with your love. Trash, seventh young mistress. Lord Dizun, please be gentler with your love. Chapter 52-58. Her profound energy was unable to get close to that distorted totem. Just at this moment, a crisp child's voice was heard from nowhere. After Yi Qing Luo retracted her profound energy, she saw two black figures descending from the sky from the distorted totem. Then, it smashed heavily into the distorted spatial light wave and rolled a few times in a row. The distorted totem turned into densely packed black rays of light. Like a broken spider web, it spread out densely. Yi Qing Luo's vision When it met those two figures, her pupils congealed. The expression on her face instantly tensed up. She didn't have time to think. She had already leapt up as her figure speedily headed towards the direction of that totem. Her hand was just about to touch those two figures. A loud boom was heard. A burst of valiant, profound in-chi brushed past her arm, bringing along a piercingly cold, gloomy malevolence. Those two figures were firmly bound in midair by two balls of profound in-chi. Raging flames surged. The profound in-chi's undulations were extremely messy. Yiqing Luo congealed her eyes as she stared intently at those two figures, as her voice sunk slightly. Huang Wuyo, what are you trying to do? Huang Wuyo's face turned pale as cold sweat kept dripping down, but he still grinned widely as he gave a horrifying and crazy smile. He forced himself to take a breath as he looked at the two figures entangled in the profound in-chi as he laughed coldly. This seat admires you very much, my precious daughter. If you're willing to become this seat's assistants, I believe. This seat will dote on you, this daughter. Very few people are able to force this seat to such a state. Although he was smiling, the tone in his words was incomparably cold, with a hint of viciousness. Yiqing Luo's expression darkened as her gaze swept past those two figures as she spoke with some ridicule. Dote on your daughter? Your current behavior makes me very suspicious. Are you able to be a good father and dote on me? She clenched the glower flame fan in her hands tightly. You pulled Ling Long here to make use of Ling Long to threaten me? Yes, Ling Long, Huang Wuyo's biological daughter. Princess Ling Long of the secluded palace. That, her half-sister. Right now, it was being entangled by Huang Wuyo's mystical Yin energy. Earlier, Huang Wuyo had used the mysterious Yin energy to execute a forbidden spell to summon Ling Long. Yiqing Luo didn't quite understand. Why did Huang Wuyo summon Ling Long over? Especially, Ling Long had been summoned, and the other small figure was none other than Fengshi, big sister, after hearing Yiqing Luo's voice. The two little people, who were entangled by the mysterious In-Chi, painfully spat out two words. They all looked towards Yiqing Luo. Her face was filled with pain and bewilderment. He had no idea what was going on. Yiqing Luo's eyes sunk by several degrees as the dim light in her eyes fluctuated. She pursed her lips and made her voice calm down. Don't worry, sister will save you right now. Save? Huang Wuyo scoffed lightly, as his face was filled with ridicule. You're thinking too simply. His gaze swept past Yiqing Luo greedily. My good daughter, to this seat, she no longer has any use so naturally. She will no longer receive this seat's love. But you're different. Your intelligence, your ability, will be this seat's best aid. This seat will naturally. While you still have value, I will give you a father's love. Huang Wuyo's words were extremely straightforward. Trash seventh young mistress. Lord Dizun, please be gentler with your love. Trash seventh young mistress. Lord Dizun, please be gentler with your love. Chapter 52-59. There was no emotion in his words at all, as though no matter who it was, in his eyes, they were just tools that could be used. If they had no value, then they could be abandoned anytime. Yiqing Luo laughed when she heard that. Her long and narrow eyes stared coldly at Huang Wuyo. The coldness in her eyes made her look extremely sharp. Then what makes you think that I am willing to be your tool? Her pink lips curved slightly, as though she was smiling. However, the coldness in her eyes caused her smile to be even more horrifying and cold. As for me, I actually have something in common with you. She scoffed lightly as her words were icy cold. I only want to control my life in my own hands. When Huang Wuyo heard that, he laughed sinisterly and sharply. That laughter was so ear-piercing that it made one's hair stand on end. The more he laughed, the higher the frequency of the vibration in his chest, as though he was trying his best to endure the pain in his body. As for Fengshi and Ling Long, who were entangled by the two balls of profound In-Chi, they were howling in pain along with Huang Wuyo's ear-piercing laughter. Children had always been afraid of pain. Towards Huang Wuyo's toughness, they couldn't take it at all. Cici. Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips as she looked at Feng Shi's face, which was filled with pain. Her brows knitted even tighter. Huang Wuyo listened to the child's low moans and miserable cries, and heard Yiqing Luo's low cry as he laughed even more savagely. Ever since Ling Long was born, this seat had already cast a master and servant forbidden curse on her. As long as this seat is willing, I can summon her anytime and anywhere. Master servant forbidden spell? When she heard these words, Yiqing Luo's expression suddenly darkened. What kind of beast was he to cast such a forbidden spell on his own biological daughter? Summon her anytime and anywhere? What did he treat Ling Long as? As though he could see Yiqing Luo's anger and doubts. Huang Wuyo's smile became even more sinister. I allowed Ling Long to be born because I wanted to see if my other children, other than my and Feng Ji's bloodline, which can form the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade, could also possess the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade. He sighed softly as his tone was filled with pity. What a pity! Ling Long has disappointed this seed. Fa, father. Ling Long's voice was hoarse as she listened to Huang Wuyo's cold voice, which she couldn't understand at all. Her heart was filled with panic and fear, but she was also clear that the person who made her so miserable and afraid was her father. However, it doesn't matter. After all, he is a descendant of this Great One's bloodline. He will more or less be of some use to this Great One. Huang Wuyo cast a sharp glance at Ling Long, thick, profound. Yin Shi entangled Ling Long and sent her towards Huang Wuyo's direction. Feng Shi was so angry that her eyes turned red as she struggled with all her might while shouting Ling Long's name. Ling Long was scared out of her wits as she looked at this father who she seldom saw, but treated her very well and was very gentle. But now he had such a hideous and terrifying smile. This seat's original intention was to summon Ling Long over. I didn't expect that child from a Feng family would forcefully follow me. Huang Wuyo clicked his tongue. You Feng family people are so troublesome, so sentimental at such a young age. And the consequence of this is, he smiled maliciously, he has become a tool for this seat to restrain you.